Yeah, I'll retweet it to my mass amount of Twitter followers. I actually got like 4 followers from your tweet last night. Yeah. I mean, I think like, cause like you should like followers like they come in with, even if like I've had tweets that get like 1,000 likes or something like that, and I don't get many followers. But like when you mention me, it's probably around which is most consistent when I get followers. Yeah, yeah, there we go. Yeah, enjoy the fame. Oh, I gotta pull up your stream. Yeah, my 5 minutes. They have subtitles for that, right? That really sucks. Also, why don't you the tags? Why don't you put Swedish in there as well? Valet, Sverige. Yeah. What's up, Everton? Valet. Yeah, or valet, val 2022. You know, as we can make our own tags now. It's about time, like that it took them that long. You know. Hello, Mr. Henson. I'm gonna. Yeah, well, I mean, we just hang out, and we can take the compass. We can watch and talk about the parties, and look at. Oh, hello, Ben. Ali Allende got cooed. Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, I feel like we're forgetting something though, but it must not be very important. Yeah. Yeah. When we broke free from the Kalmar Union, right? What? I can hear you, but yeah, it's been a very one-sided conversation thus far.
Okay, can people hear me now? Okay, there we go.
Nice. What's up, Blatt?
Hey.
Filifjonk.
Okay, I think it had to do with which audio track I was on for some reason.
Oh yeah, I saw you been messing around with that.
Yeah, it's not as easy as you would think.
No, audio is magic. It's not technology. It's straight up magic.
Yeah.
What's up, Dorian? No, like this election is about to see how much more fash do we get. That's what the election is about.
Yeah. It is. Let's see if we have a good. Yeah, I mean, you can see here. Um, it's even right now. Uh, the all of the opinion polls are showing that the left bloc and the right bloc are extremely close to each other. So it is a nail biter, this
Yeah.
election.
I mean, like the last time they had a lot of difficulties forming a government because it was 50-50, essentially.
Yeah.
Uh, it's when you have like multi parties like this, it's kind of like building with Legos to see what fits together, right? Like to form like who do we work with? I mean, generally, classically, it's like that, but there's parties that refuse to work with some, so that causes like it makes it difficult to like for them to form a government when it's like this even.
Yeah. SVT, the public service has where is it? There it is. The old election puzzle game.
Hmm.
Yeah, this was well, this technically our current government is just the Social Democrats supported by the Greens, the Center, and the Left Party.
Yeah.
Um, but and that was the last. Well, no, that's the opinion polls for this election, and this was the election results from 2018. Um, so I mean, really, not that much has changed. So it's just as
I mean, the Sweden Democrats have eaten more of the moderates. That's what's changed,
yeah.
essentially.
Here, I'll post a link in the chat. So I mean, really, what remains to be seen is how big is the swing going to be? Because this really can come down to just a few thousand votes, just a couple of seats in parliament. What kind of government we will end up getting, if it's going to be a right-wing government or a centrist government.
Mhm. It is proportionate voting in Sweden. Yes.
Yeah, it is mostly proportionate, but with a system that slightly favors the smaller parties. So when
Mhm.
there is like when there's like uneven numbers or whatever, there's like a tie, then that goes to the smaller parties. Is a simple way to think about it.
Mm.
So most of the time, when you see a disparity between the percentage of votes gotten and like percentage of seats in parliament, the bigger parties will have slightly fewer seats than what would be 100% proportional, and the smaller parties would have a little bit more. But for the most part, it is proportional.
Regering means well, it's the government, right? It's the
Yeah,
ruling, and then övriga just means other, right?
yeah, yeah. So this is the governing coalition, basically, who would be selecting the ministers for the various ministries of the government, as well as the prime minister. Um, yeah, and they would be proposing the budget for fall as well. But how much the government can really do obviously is up to the situation in parliament. Yes, minority
Yeah.
governments can form, but good luck picking a prime minister with a minority government, that is probably going to be difficult. And it was difficult last election in 2018. How long did it take? Did it take 2 months before we had a prime minister, I think?
Yeah, I think the Speaker of the House first. Well, that I don't know what it's called. It's
Yeah,
the
it's the
Speaker,
speaker, yeah.
right? He first gave the moderates the assignment to form a government. They failed. Then it went back and forth like twice, I think. And then eventually the Social Democrats managed to form a government.
Andersson can go up. Yeah, that's not what I wanted. Can I get like a... I don't want it to be full screen. Oh, whatever. All right, I don't have the audio on. I just want to see what they're covering.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just going around to the different parties and talking about it.
No, we don't. We have something like utskott, right? Which is like an adversarial, like
Yeah, like
how the yeah
committees.
committees.
The equivalent in the United States would be congressional committees.
Mm. And different people on the parliament sit in the committees, and they then advise on legislation that is then voted on in the parliament, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
SD is more or less equivalent of AFD. Yes. Yeah, I'd say so.
And somebody has asked a question. Who is it in the right wing? The moderates are the ones that are the leaders there, and even it looks like even if the Sweden Democrats become bigger than the moderates, right? The moderates would still be the leaders because I don't think like the Sweden Democrats would be prime minister even if they become bigger than the moderates. It would still be the moderates that would be voted in as prime minister if they won.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a it's gonna be a bit delayed for you, Grom, but you're just gonna have to live with that.
Yeah.
I have a put up all the parties in Photoshop just to kind of try to explain the different parties from left to right. Socialists, environmentalists, social democrats. The crux is kind of in the middle with the center and the Liberal Party. They're both socially liberal, not like necessarily like progressive, but both socially liberal, maybe to varying degrees. Center Party maybe being up slightly more to the left on social issues, but on everything else, they more or less agree. They're fiscally conservative, deregulation, free market, decentralization, privatization, the marketization and profit, allowing profit in the public sector, including schools and hospitals and clinics and that kind of thing. So, which has been a controversial question for this election as well as the last election, is, is it right to allow private actors to exist within a public sector, right? So private or charter schools, which are funded through taxpayer money, but then that taxpayer money is, part of it goes to funding the school or the hospital or whatever it happens to be, but then a big chunk of it goes to the shareholders, it goes to the, CEO, the owner of the company. And yeah, that's basically a left-right issue with most of the right-wing parties agreeing that no, private actors in the public sector is good, and then the social democrats are more like not against it, but maybe like for some regulation of it. Question mark. But like it was they who
Oh.
introduced it originally, more or less, like
Mhm.
back in the 80s and 90s. And now they're kind of like turning around and saying, "Wow, that was such a terrible thing that exists. I wonder who did that." You know, the
Yeah.
Greens and the Left Party are basically both against profits in the public sector, with everyone else being totally fine with it.
Mm. Yep.
L is better than C solely because of their new penis logo. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you look at the demographics of the Center Party and the Liberal Party, and you look at who votes for which party, you can kind of see that like women who live in cities vote for the Center Party, and men who live in the countryside. No, it's the other way around. Women tend to vote for the Center Party, and people who live in the countryside tend to vote for the Center Party. And men tend to vote for the Liberal Party, mostly men who live in cities. So, yeah,
Center
both
Party
like very
used to
middle
be
class.
called like the farmer, like Bundepartiet, which
Yeah,
is like the
yeah,
farmers' party.
yeah. The Peasants League.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. They've been like this like a Nordic agrarian like decentral localist party for a long time, talking about farmers and land rights and agrarianism and that kind of thing. Now they're just called the Center Party, but I guess theoretically they still care about like the countryside.
Yeah.
But they don't win the countrysides. I think. Oh, they're talking about Stockholm, are they?
I can't see what you're seeing. I should
Oh,
have it up as well. Can you give me the link? I can look at it myself.
oh yeah. Yeah, it's just the live. There, I posted it in streaming voice.
No.
Yeah, if we look at the let's see, Sweden election 2018. Look at the election results. You can kind of see that like even though the Center Party positions itself as like a party that's like for the countryside, um, they don't really win the countryside anywhere. The countryside is pretty firmly social democratic,
Mm.
except in the south, which is kind of the home of the Sweden Democrats, more or less. So where I think the party was founded in Skåne. I think most of like the party leaders and politicians come from Skåne.
The first municipal that was Sweden Democratic was in Skåne as well.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me if Sweden's next election contains an Islamic party. We were talking about there's a party called Nyans.
The first time I ever heard about it was like just today. So don't like to even get in. You have to have 4% of the votes, which
Yeah,
they're not
that's
gonna get that.
that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
They're gonna get I don't know a couple hundred votes probably. Like they've been in the news a lot because it's like oh so controversial. I guess I don't know. They've gotten a lot of attention, but it doesn't look like anyone is actually gonna vote for them. Even people who are Muslim aren't looking to vote for Neons. So
Yeah.
Justine, what are your prediction? I don't know. It's I mean it is even as all heck. I'm hoping for a similar constellation as what we got last time, and keeping the Sweden Democrats out of government or too much influence. But we'll see. Sweden has church elections. Yeah. Have you voted in the church elections?
I have. When was the last church elections?
2 years ago,
Then
I
I
think.
probably missed that one. Yeah. But the first election I ever voted in was the church election, and that was also the first time Sweden Democrats had any success in an election. Um, I promise, not related to being my first time voting. I didn't vote for them, but they got 10% in the church election, and that was like the first time Sweden Democrats actually had any success in an election. And I remember the news were going on, oh, it's super scary and stuff like that, that this is the development and now this is the norm, right? Like, because as it sure says, right, the elections, not like the main thing with elections is just to see how much influence Sweden Democrats get, right? Like, that's it. That's the change.
Yeah. Let's see. There was a. Yeah, here we go. These are some of the most important political questions. The 10 hot election issues, according to the Google Translate. Gang violence, training. I'm not training. What is the translating training? Oh, education. Segregation, care queues. No, that's like health care queues or healthcare, wait times. Carbon dioxide emission, unemployment, elderly care, mental illness, energy supply, and preparedness is like military preparedness.
Yeah. Uh, what is Vince? That's the left party. They're like what? Like there's Social Democratic Party, right? Like and probably the like the Social Democrats today, they're very neoliberal, right? And the left party is like not like they don't believe in like the deregulation and the privatization and stuff like that. So they are what the Social Democrats used to be more, I
Yeah,
think.
the left party. I always say the left party, um, nationally, like the national or the like the national left party is functionally a social democratic party in the style of the social democratic party in Sweden in the 1950s and 60s.
Mm.
Um, when it comes down to the local section, um, in Gothenburg, the left party is very, I would say very left wing. I know a bunch of Marxists and even Marxist Leninists who are members of the left party in Gothenburg, but there are a lot of places where the left party is not left wing at all, and they're very, center left, depending on where in the country you are.
Yeah.
So yeah, the left party, you know, they kind of walk back and forth between social democracy and socialism. Um,
Yeah. And his story, I mean, left parties are split from the Communist Party.
yeah.
So and they're currently the only party that is I think Green Party is anti-NATO as well.
We can check. Well functioning military defense. Doesn't seem. Yeah, they don't mention NATO. I'll Google it. Are conditions for when Sweden joins NATO?
Well, then it's only the left party then.
Green Party voters are positive to NATO.
Mm.
It seems.
A lot of this has like changed, right? Because
Yeah.
Social Democrats were anti-NATO, were against like not like against membership for NATO. Sweden Democrats were against membership for NATO. Green Party was against membership for NATO. center party was against membership for NATO, and the left party was against membership for NATO. Then all this Ukraine stuff happened, and everybody except for the left party essentially kind of flipped their stance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think the the Greens have been vocal about the deal that Sweden is gonna get when we join NATO, and you know the conditions that Erdogan is placing on Sweden and Finland in regards to Kurdish activists and so-called terrorists that we are like quote unquote harboring. Um, and Social Democrats and all the right wing parties are seem to be just fine with doing what basically whatever Erdogan wants, and the left party and the Greens have been vocal about it being wrong. But yeah, it does seem like the Greens are not gonna be they're at least not campaigning on like not joining NATO.
Yeah. Well, I feel like a lot of that stuff just got very quickly very quiet. Like it happened and then I haven't heard much about it, which is kind of like disturbing to me because it's one of those things that I feel like you have you have parties during their mandate had an opposite stance and then they flip before an election without a referendum. They flip their stance completely, right?
Yeah.
Which is, and then and then it's just essentially gone quiet.
Wait, sorry, your picture just disappeared.
Gone.
Gone. Yeah. There. Greens are economically to the right of the Social Democrats. They're similar. See, what's weird is that in Stockholm in the municipal elections, the Greens joined the Conservatives, the moderate party and the Liberal Party, to form a government, and kind of abandoned the Left Party and the Social Democrats. Um, and yeah, like the Green Party has had some weird kind of like right wing or neoliberal positions on like taxations and like trying to bribe Amazon to come to Sweden and like allegedly promising Amazon that like oh they didn't have to abide by the collective bargaining agreements or like union regulations that we have in the country.
I don't know, like the. I think that was Amazon that was trying that. Like they were trying to get tax cuts. They were trying to be exempt from collective bargaining. The US government said they don't do exceptions based on like individual kind of like companies and so on, right? Like if one, like they were saying, if one industry gets a tax cut, that means everybody has to get a tax cut, or one corporation gets a tax cut, and so on. And that's how it's done. With the collective bargaining, I think that kind of had a workaround because like what essentially they're setting up in Sweden is like warehouses and then well, I don't think warehouses even. I think the server farm, right? But they are importing their own staff to Sweden. So like the main thing was like they were trying to like create jobs and stuff like that, but jobs are not really being created because Amazon is bringing in labor from outside the country.
Yeah, I mean that's like a net zero of new jobs. It's like you create 4 new jobs and you import 4 workers from the United States to fill those
Yeah.
jobs. It's like, okay, well, no jobs have really been created, have they?
What's up, Kmart? We're Swedish. We're Swedish. We're just doing it in English because we're usually English politics streamers.
Yeah, and I mean, like every channel and website and everything in Sweden is covering the election in Swedish, so you know someone ought to be covering it in English. You know,
Yeah.
in case, because I mean, there are people who live here. Maybe they're not citizens. Maybe they can't vote. but they live here and this stuff affects them. So yeah, people deserve to
Yeah.
know what's going on, even if they don't
Yeah.
speak the
Yeah.
language.
Yep.
We got a question about I skipped it earlier and I forgot about it, but we got a question about what would happen uh if with a right wing government compared to a left wing government.
Yeah.
So a right wing government would, in all likelihood, just consist of the moderates, the liberals, and the Christian Democrats, and some kind of support vote from the Sweden Democrats. Um, there is like contention here between the moderates and the Sweden Democrats because more or less the Sweden Democrats um, have said that they don't want to do that. Like if they're gonna be part of the right wing bloc, then they want to be a part of the government. They want to have um, a say and a high degree of influence.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Sweden Democrats become bigger than the moderates, then then they're the bigger party. Then the moderates can't really make demands of them in the same way. They're basically the same size now anyway. But yeah,
And what's happened usually, I mean, when it comes to like the Sweden Democrats, right? Like because when they're in like a supporting role, right? I mean, they vote for the right wing's budget, but they usually try gain influence by saying they're not going to, they're gonna, um, ruin their budget proposal, right?
yeah,
If they don't get influence, and that's kind of, and that's where they just gain, they would they would be in a better standing to do those things, right? Because essentially, as we said before, right, the main thing is like how much influence does the Sweden Democrats? Will they eventually get so much influence so they can get minister seats and stuff like that, right? And that's usually what they try with the budget. They
yeah,
try to pressure moderates that they're not going to vote for their budget in the fall if they do not get influence.
yeah. There was some worry about the Liberal Party and the Green Party not getting above the electoral threshold, but right now it's looking fine. The threshold is 4%. The Greens are, according to the latest numbers, hovering at around 5%, and the Liberals also at around 5%. But I mean, if you go back and you look at earlier this year, just a few months ago, both of them were underneath the threshold. Only every now and then peaking up, but for a long time, both the Liberals and the Greens were below the 4% threshold.
Mm. Yeah.
Don't miss this.
Um, I don't know when they usually get the fight. Like, it won't be until like tonight, like in the night or tomorrow, because like the polling stations hasn't closed yet. They close at 8, and it's 6:45 right now.
Yeah.
So people are still voting.
Yeah. Yeah, we're only going to be seeing preliminary results today. And technically, there's like overseas votes and like late ballots and stuff. So, like, technically, the official results aren't going to be in until like next week.
Mhm.
But we're going to get like a pretty good idea of what's of the result tonight, I think.
Yeah. Election day is. I mean, it's on a Sunday. And if you can vote ahead of time as well in Sweden, or you
Yeah.
can vote by mail, and you can and I don't think like your employer is allowed to like keep you from going voting, um, if you needed to do that. But people have been voting. I think voting started
2
Like two
weeks ago.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are 2 weeks of early voting that you can do in various locations, in libraries and schools and things. But election day is always on a Sunday, which a few people, I mean, some people do work on Sunday, but the vast majority of people don't. And I imagine that you
You'd
can get
probably
the
end
day
up in
off
the
for
yeah.
voting.
You'd probably end up in the news if you told your employees you couldn't go
Yeah.
vote.
So uh, these are basically the parties that don't want to work together with the Sweden Democrats. Both the Center Party and the Liberals are, have talked about how they don't like working with the Sweden Democrats. The Center Party has basically outright refused, whereas the Liberals are maybe a bit more willing to at least accept the help of the Sweden Democrats if it, leads to the Liberals being in power, being part of the government. But really, it's not a done deal. Like if you look at, let's see, a lot of these blocks, right? The people seem to be, of the opinion that the Liberals are going to be part of the right wing bloc and the Center Party is going to be part of the left wing bloc. But if the right wing bloc becomes bigger than the left, I don't think that it's a done deal that the Liberals are actually going to want to be part of the same government as the Sweden Democrats. I think the Liberals could peace out and say, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, really, we could be seeing, this option on the right here as a kind of governing coalition, or at least supporting a social democratic government with certain conditions, rather than a Sweden Democrat led government.
Yeah. Well, the center and liberals, they will not have V to be like an official part of the government.
No.
They would need them to be supporting like they have been.
No. No. So, like, the current government that we have is a minority government consisting only of the Social Democrats and no one else. The Green Party used to be a part of that coalition, so the government was the Green Party and the Social Democrats, supported by the Left Party and the Center Party. But right now, our current government is just the Social Democrats with support from the Greens, the Left, and the Center Party. So this would not be the government. These parties would not be in a government together. That would not happen. The much more likely thing to happen would just be to have the Social Democrats and possibly Social Democrats and the Greens together as the government, with the Left Party getting some of the things that they want, as like promises from the Prime Minister, the Center Party getting some of the things they want, and maybe the Liberals getting some of the things they want. And none of those three parties get to be part of the government, but they all vote for the Social Democratic Prime Minister, in order to avoid there being a Sweden Democrat-led government.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the way it's looking right now, it's gonna be a lot of negotiations and deals and promises. I think it's gonna be a very long process after the election to actually elect a government and choose a prime minister. I think it's probably gonna take just as long as last time.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I mean, the left party, historically, the left party has been a bit of a pushover when it comes to dealing with the Social Democrats. The Social Democrats have basically said, well, either you vote for what we want or you're going to get a right-wing government. Which would you rather have? And the left party just kind of rolls over and say, yes, master, we'll do whatever you want. But now, with the new party leader, Nooshi Dadgostar, they've grown a bit more of a backbone. And we're actually part of a motion of no confidence last time because they weren't happy with the agreement that the Social Democrats were proposing to them.
Was it the market rents, right?
Yes, the removal of rent caps on apartments.
Yeah.
Any chance of opposition to joining NATO? No, the only party that really wants to abstain from joining NATO, like actually wants to decline joining NATO, is the Left Party, and they're only at around 8% right now.
Yeah. Left Party is the V, not the L.
Yeah, confusingly.
Yeah.
L is for liberals.
V is for
they're just called the liberals.
Yeah.
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 Really,
and
the kind of government, the Social Democrats, can swing either left or right, and the kind of government that we would have with the Social Democrats in power would depend heavily on who the fourth biggest party is. If the fourth biggest party is the Center Party, we're going to get very neoliberal policies going forward. The fourth biggest party is the Left Party, we're going to see more classical social democratic governing. So yeah, the Social Democrats are kind of like a, I don't know, big tent. A bit like the Democratic Party in the United States, I think. There are people on the left in the Social Democratic Party, but then you also have like very liberal people in the Social Democratic Party. So yeah, not just who's going to be the biggest party or how big is the Sweden Democrats going to be. An interesting question is also going to be, is the Center Party or the Left Party going to have more influence in Parliament? Is that is really going to determine a lot of the actual policies that will be voted on and implemented coming forward under the next 4 years. Yeah. If we end up with a social democratic government, which isn't, not guaranteed, but at the moment I would say it's more likely than the alternative.
Alternative for Sweden.
Yeah. They're gonna get like 200 votes. That's the thing when like you have a racist party in parliament and then you have like a bunch of smaller parties that are like, the racists in parliament aren't racist enough.
Well, I mean, they are. It's just they don't understand dog whistles, right? Like, alternative for Sweden is the Sweden Democrats, but they don't try to hide it, right? And it's for those people who don't understand that the Sweden Democrats are hiding it,
They're not mask off enough with their racism.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot is depending on the fourth and fifth places. Yes, that is the nature of bloc politics. A lot of negotiating. People getting upset with each other and promises made. Promises made, promises kept, folks.
But it's the thing is, right? Like, even though it looks different, right? Essentially, it is not too much different, right? Like, because while you have like this two-party system, right? Like, these kind of like blocks within like the Democratic Party and so on exists within, right? It's just under one party, right? So it's not like, you know, while as they do negotiations between the parties and so on, right? There do negotiations between different blocks within the Democratic Party. You have like the squad and so on,
Yeah.
right?
Sweden still has segregation. Not like apartheid legal segregation, but de facto like economic segregation.
Yeah.
I mean, much like you have in a lot of countries, like redlining in the United States, where you have like black majority areas and white majority areas. In Sweden, you have Swedish majority areas and immigrant majority areas.
Jävlar.
And yeah, Dorian points out no one is on the record about which bloc that they are a part of. This is not like L, KD, M, and SD. This is not like an official alliance. This is not an electoral coalition. This is just like what people assume would happen. Like, people assume that these are the sides, but there is no like official alliance anymore. There used to be. The Center Party, these guys, the liberals, the Christian Democrats, and the moderates used to be part of something called the Alliance, which was a like right-wing liberal conservative electoral alliance. Basically, they made up like the unofficial bloc that most of the time would be in opposition to the Social Democrats, but for a period from 2008 to 2012, they were made up a minority conservative government. But then in when was it the Center Party officially split from the Alliance? Was it in 2018? I think
Don't
the
know.
Alliance.
What was it when Annie Lööf yelled at Jimmy Åkesson in a debate?
Maybe.
Nej, men vad säger du?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think something like that. And I think my thing coincides with that as well. So
yeah, so there aren't any alliances anymore. No electoral pacts, no anything. It's all the parties are just independent. But some of them obviously are more likely to work with each other than others, but there is no guarantee, like I said, that the liberals will end up part of a right-wing coalition. The liberals can just as easily step over, join the center party as part of a center-left, or well, mostly just center, political bloc. The Center Party does not want to work with the Sweden Democrats. That was the main reason why the Center Party decided to support a social democratic prime minister in 2018. The Center Party has promised and keeps their promise to refuse to work together with the Sweden Democrats. They don't want the Sweden Democrats to be part of government or really have any influence at all.
But they also do not want to work with the left party.
Yeah, they are true to their name in that they believe that both left-wing, quote-unquote, extremism and literal, like, neo-Nazis are the same. So they want to work with neither the left nor the right. They want to do their own thing.
C is not the conservatives. That's the center, right?
Yes, C is Center Party.
Yeah. Like
L
M
is liberals. KD is the Christian Democrats. M is the moderates, and SD is the Sweden Democrats.
Yeah.
I'll put up the graphic that I made. We can go through them real quick. The left party, historically, previously known as the Communist Party of Sweden, then the Left Party Communists. They were part of the so-called Euro-Communist movement, which was like a a split with like the Moscow line,
Hmm.
and they became like very soft, reformist, basically a precursor to what we today would call democratic socialism. Um, and yeah, now the left party just calls themselves socialists. They call themselves environmentalists and feminists. One of the big things that they're talking about is privatization of the public sector um, uh, and the welfare system in
Mm.
general. They're the only party that is really against joining NATO. The Green Party is somewhat critical of it, but they don't seem to really mind it. Yeah, the Green Party, they're center left environmentalists. Socially, they're progressive. They support like standard Green Party environmentalist things. They like public transport, trains and buses and things, which the left party does too. Basically, all the things that are good about what the Green Party does, the left party also does, but usually better. Um,
Yeah.
that's you know how it goes. And whether the Green Party is to the left of the Social Democrats, it varies. Depends on who you ask. Some would say that they're to the right of the Social Democrats, at least economically or fiscally.
Yeah.
Um,
And again, Social Democrat is a big party,
yeah,
right? Like there is like there is more left people in the Social Democrats, and there's like also more right leaning people in the Social Democrats. This is a very big party.
yeah, yeah. They're a big tent. Um, yeah, like there are people who are Social Democrats who are like even like somewhat socially conservative. So both on social issues and on economic issues, the Social Democrats vary a lot in
Yeah.
kinds of people that are part of it, and there are a bunch of like different cliques and factions within the Social Democrats as well.
Yeah.
There's a group called the Reformists, I think, Reformisterna, which is a Social Democrats, like a faction within the Social Democrats that basically want to do more policies like the left party, right? More
Mm.
left leaning policies.
And like the also I think one big reason is Social Democrats is such a big tent, right, is because the history of Sweden has been very dominated by the Social Democrats, right? Like they have for a very long time they were like the biggest, they were always in charge and so on. And there's just there's a lot of people who are apolitical that essentially just know that their family votes Social Democrats. So they vote like I have so many of like people in my family, like in extended family, friends, and so on, which are just literally like, well, our family's always voted Social Democrats, so
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing.
yeah.
You know,
I mean, Social Democrats have more or less led and dominated Swedish politics for the past 100 years since 1921. So it's hard to get away from that history. Um, is it fair to compare the Social Democrats to Labour? I would say take Labour in the UK, but then take like Corbyn and Momentum and like all of the like socialists in the Labour Party, take them out and make a new party, and that's the Left Party.
mm,
So the Left Party is kind of like the Corbyn type Social Democrats, and then Social Democrats are like the Keir Starmer, Tony Blair types. Thoughts on the Italian elections? I personally want to die. Yeah,
I haven't seen much of it. I saw one thing about an Italian politician basically saying he would like remove all the Roma people in Italy, and that's as far as I've seen.
I mean that sounds about on par for Italy. Girl boss fascism, yeah. Yeah, Italy might be going the way of Hungary, to be honest.
Oh,
Anyway, Center Party and the Liberal Party, uh, it's really hard to tell them apart, if I'm completely honest. They, 9 times out of 10, they advocate for the same things. Socially, they're more progressive. They're not, like, conservative. They're a bit more friendly, toward like immigration. Uh, I think they want to limit immigration, but not like, kick all the brown people out. They don't do racist dog whistles. That's more or less what distinguishes them. Other than that, economically, they're very conservative. Free market, deregulation, decentralization, privatization, cut
Yeah.
back on like spending and everything. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, the center party is led by a girl boss, and the liberal party is led by a charismatic black hole.
Nyan Kukabuni.
No, she's not the leader of the liberal party anymore.
Yeah, I know. Who's the leader now? Isn't it
It's
that?
the dude that's on all the posts. I don't remember what he's called. What's he called, Chad?
Isn't he like an
Swedish people.
old white guy?
Yeah, yeah. He's like, oh, there's so many like he makes bad jokes and Johan Palsson. Yeah.
Oh, right. I thought you said he was a charismatic black guy, and I was like, what?
No, charismatic black hole. Like I say, he has no charisma.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was confused for a second. One thing that kind of distinguishes the center party and the liberal party, I think, is the issue of decentralization. I think that is more of a center party thing, and not as much of a liberal party thing. So decentralization in Sweden, I could probably talk for like 3 hours about it because it's something that I'm really passionate about. But it's this process that started in like the 70s and 80s of taking all of the things that the central state is responsible for, like healthcare and education, and dumping it on all of the local municipalities, local councils, city councils and town councils and that kind of thing. And it's a controversial thing. Basically, the center party is all for it, and the liberal party wants to at least take the education system and make the central state, responsible for it again. From a teacher's point of view, the decentralization and the handing over the responsibility of education and schools to municipalities has basically only had negative effects, like across the board. Like no matter what metric you're looking at, pretty much it's all gone downhill ever since decentralization. The schools are less equal now. Where you live in the country has never been such a deciding factor for what your grades are going to be, or if you're going to be able to go to high school or not, as right now.
Yeah, it has very rapidly segregated our school system.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole thing is the school system or the education system is maintained through like a school market, with the principle of voting with your feet instead of voting with your dollar, because schools are still free, education is still free, so you don't have to pay a tuition, but the school that you go to will get money because you go to it. So schools get money depending on how many students they have. So cram as many students as you can into a school, pay the teachers shit wages or have very few teachers, and you'll have a very profitable business. And you'll be able to report back to very happy shareholders. But the quality of the education isn't going to be very good, because a big chunk of the money going to the education system is ending up in the pockets of shareholders and CEOs. But
Yeah,
that's just the cost of doing business, baby.
I mean that's where you want the the budget for education to end up in. It's in shareholders' pockets.
Yeah.
Right.
The moderates, they're also kind of big tent, a bit like they're a bit like the Social Democrats, but on the right. They're officially they're liberal conservatives, so they are conservatives with liberal tendencies. Uh, yeah, I mean, they skeptical toward immigration. They want, you know, more policing, more security cameras, less money spent on, wasteful things like education and healthcare and culture and music and
Tax
that kind of
cuts,
thing.
tax cuts, tax cuts, and more tax cuts,
Yeah,
please.
yeah. Lower the taxes for, well, not poor people but rich people. Raise the taxes for disabled people, and yeah, kick all the immigrants out. Well, no, they're
Disabled people
moderates. They're
as
moderates. Remember,
Yeah, yeah.
only kick
Disabled
some of
people has
them.
had it too good for too long, they think.
Yeah, but only kick some of the immigrants out because they're moderates. They're not
Mm.
radical. Only some of the immigrants should get kicked out.
Yeah.
And then the Christian Democrats and the Sweden Democrats, they're more and more like blending into each other these days. They have very similar policies. Uh, yeah, no, I mean that's it. They're both very conservative. They're both very anti-immigration. Um, anti-feminist. That kind of thing. Economically, they're very similar as well, just like a standard conservative free market ideology. More policing and less brown people. Yeah. So they're very similar parties. The Christian Democrats are older. Um, Sweden Democrats are a bit newer. I think they for a while they were seen as the more radical of the two, but the Christian Democrats have been stepping toward the right. So today, I think I think they're very similar.
Yeah.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find any real substantial differences between them.
Yeah, yeah. When the alliance broke down, right, they essentially just whoop, went to and then just very quickly just essentially started repeating Sweden Democrat stuff and you know, the stuff that because obviously Alliance, it was against their interest of the Sweden Democrats becoming bigger, right? So the narrative back then was that it was worrying that the Sweden Democrats were getting bigger, but when the Alliance broke down, the Christian Democrats broke from their narrative and then said, "No, it's good. Like we're like, maybe we should work with the Sweden Democrats," and then they just went all in.
Yeah. Yeah, the Christian Democrats are the closest allies with the Sweden Democrats in Parliament.
Mm.
I think I heard last election in 2018, when members of the moderate party were polled, about half said that they would work together with the Sweden Democrats or that they would want collaboration with the Sweden Democrats.
Yeah.
And half would not want it. So
Yeah.
Stat Chat just just rated with both 35 viewers and 41 viewers at the same time.
Nice.
Wow, that's crazy.
I think it's your bot. It always does that. It's just one for hosted, one for rated.
Yeah, I don't know why it does that.
Oh. Welcome in, everyone.
Welcome, everyone. We're covering the Swedish election of 2022. The actual election process seems to be having some trouble. I think the different policies and the way that the election is carried out. Some of the rules have changed, and it seems like a bunch of people who are running the polling places are confused. So there are a bunch of delays, and ballots have been missing, and there was some guy who showed up to vote, and then someone had accidentally crossed his name off the list, so he couldn't vote. And there are very long queues, and yeah, it's a very messy election.
Yeah, how was it? So you voted today, or did you voted beforehand?
No, I voted last week.
Well, I voted today. So what was different that they never usually because what happens, right? You get in the mail, you get something called a voting card. The voting card basically tells you this is where you're supposed to vote, right? And it tells you like the address, this is where you go to vote, and then it says like this is the room you go to vote in when you're in there, right? So usually when you get into the place, they'll have a table set up and there's all the ballots, right? You're voting in you get three ballots, right? You get one for region, one municipality, and one for like the parliament, right? So you get your ballots, then you go, you put them in envelopes, or you cross in names if you know who the people on the ballot is, but nobody does. So I don't put any crosses in there. And then you hand it over, right? So this year they had the ballots inside the room where you vote, not out in the main like lobby, and it was behind like a big cover, right? So people couldn't see which ballots you grabbed, and they never done that before.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems inconsistent about like what the different polling places look like because the polling place I went to, which was at least my local library, they had the ballots for the parties inside the voting booth, but the voting location that my dad went to, which was a school I think, had them on a table behind like a little cover, and then you took your ballots and then
Yeah,
you went into the voting booth.
yeah. That's what they did. Uh, it was on a table behind like a big cover.
Yeah,
Because I was like, when I got in there, and I was like, "Where's the ballots?" Right? Because usually you grab them just as you go in, right? And like it's open so everybody sees. So what people usually did if they didn't want you to know who you voted for, right? Like so people can see which ballot you grab. People just grab like a bunch of different parties,
yeah. I mean,
and
I
that's
hear
how you
that, but
split.
I've never known anyone who does that.
I've seen tons of people do that. I don't do it because I don't. I go and grab the left party and then I go in and vote.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find it's a picture, like a historical picture that I'm thinking of, but I can't remember where I saw it. Um, no, I can't find it now. Uh, but yeah. So this is what. Oh man, this is a small picture. So this is what it used to look like before 2020. Um, there'd just be a big table out in the open, and you would go up to it. You would take one ballot for the municipality, one for the regional, the provincial assembly, and then one for the parliament. And then you would go behind a voting booth, like behind a curtain. Um, one of these.
Yeah. Sometimes the parties also send their ballots in the mail to you,
Yeah,
so you can bring them from home as well.
yeah. Although I thought that was gonna stop now, wasn't it?
I got ballots from the Center Party and the Sweden Democrats.
Oh, okay. I think there have been thoughts about or talks about not allowing that anymore. Uh,
Well, it seems like because of what we talked about nuance earlier, right? It seems like there's some rules now that didn't used to exist because I remember when you go in there, there's obviously people from the different parties standing there and they would like hand out ballots and stuff like that, right?
yeah,
And they'd come up to you and hand it to you. Apparently, now they're not allowed to approach anyone and they can't stand too close. So you have to approach them. They're not allowed to approach you, which I think is different because my mom used to do that for the Social Democrats like way back in the day.
yeah,
And they would like go out and like reach out their ballot and so to people.
yeah. Yeah, like back in the day, the way that elections would be carried out was um, all like you would go to a voting location and you would find some guy who's holding up your party's ballot and you would take it from him and then you would go vote for it.
Mm.
Um, then they started putting them all on a table so you could just walk up to it and take the ballots. Now, because the EU had concerns about if this is a proper way to carry out an election, with concern to secret voting, secret ballots, people aren't supposed to be able to see what you're voting for. Um, yeah, the electoral commission was asked to start hiding the ballots so that some polling places have covers like these where you go behind a little wall or something, like one at a time, to pick up your ballots and then go into the voting booth to vote.
Mm.
Or like at my voting location, like I said, the ballots were inside the voting booth itself. Do the ballots ever run out? Yes, that does happen. But there are people who work at the polling places whose job it is to replace ballots, and they
Yeah.
always have like more ballots than there are actual voters in their district. So they just have them
Yeah. Yeah.
like under a table or something. They just
Yeah.
have yeah.
But because again, right, as I said, there are people who grab multiple ones, like even the ones they're not going to vote for, and that's. I mean, I don't know if they probably don't do that anymore because you can't see. The only reason people would do that, I think, is so you can't see who to vote for. Because don't think anybody shows up not knowing who to vote for by the time they're standing in front of the things, right?
I mean, a few people do, but
Probably, but like it's not the norm. I think
impulse voters.
Yeah, just like who has the coolest logo? It's like
Yeah. Yeah, no. How do they verify you only vote once if the ballots are inside the voting booth? So you take the ballots inside the voting booth and you can put an X next to a person on the list that you want to vote for, or if you just want to vote according to the order in which your party has ranked their candidates, you don't mark it at all. You put the ballots inside envelopes. So you got one ballot again for the municipal election, one for the regional, and then one for the parliament. So then you come out of the voting booth with your 3 ballots in envelopes, and then you hand those over to one of the election officials, and they put it in the ballot box.
yeah, the envelopes that you get at the very bottom of it, it has like a little gap, so they can see which color ballot is in there, right? And then the person like puts like they put up like they say blue, yellow, white, right? And then the person that checks your name, they look at which elections you're allowed to vote in, and they say blue, and they put in the blue, and they say white, they put in the white, and they say yellow, put in the yellow, right?
Mm.
Because if you have like that matters because if you have like only like permanent residency, you're not a citizen, you're not allowed to vote in the national election. You're only allowed to vote in the region and the municipal election. So some people are not allowed to vote for all three.
Yeah.
So they have to check which ones you're allowed to vote in. And if you're on the list in the district, if you're not on the list, you're not allowed to vote. You've either it's a mess up or you have gone to the wrong the wrong, but they check you at the door to make sure you're in the right place. So
Yeah. Permanent residents are allowed to vote in municipal elections. Uh,
and
and regional,
regional.
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah.
But not in the national election. To vote in the national election, you have to be a citizen.
Yeah.
But if you have permanent residency status, then you can vote in municipal and regional. But you have to apply for that as well. So it's more than just having a visa. You actually have to apply for permanent residency status.
Yeah.
It's like a step above, just having like a work visa.
And you have to have an ID. If you do not have an ID, You have to have someone with an ID to confirm your ID.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it says so on the voting thing. Like, it says if you do not have an ID, you have to bring someone to confirm that. Like, I think, like, because it's the same with like, because I had to do this once because I only had one form of ID. It expires, and you need an ID to get a new ID, right? So I need to bring my dad with his ID to confirm I was who I said I was.
Yeah.
But yes, if you don't have an ID, you have to bring someone who knows you to confirm your identity with an ID.
Their live stream stopped.
Oh,
Well, it says it's live, but I guess they're having technical difficulties. Yeah, no, there's not going to be a socialist government. That is not going to happen.
yeah.
But yeah, the left party did, a couple of times this year, they did, dip above 10%, which was exciting. Went up to 11% one time. So that was nice. But yeah, it's looking like they're gonna get like around 8%, maybe. So basically the uh same result that they got 2018. The polls are still open, yes, for like half an hour.
Half an hour. So if you
Yeah.
haven't voted, you can run quickly and vote.
Run to the local library.
Mine was in the Citizen Hall.
Folkets hus? Or
No, Medborgarhuset.
Medborgarhus? No.
But it was like that. That's one thing that's always good, right? Because like I remember, I think it depends. When you live in like a city, like there's multiple places and multiple districts, right? So I it's always been like really close there. Just literally have to walk down the street, and there's the polling station for me.
Election authorities put the wrong ballots in the braille marked envelopes. Stated by the National Confederation of the Visually Impaired, warns that the visually impaired may have voted for a different party than intended. We therefore encourage everyone who ordered the election materials in braille and voted early to vote on election day. National Confederation of the Visually Impaired has so far received reports that 4 visually impaired voters received the wrong ballots in ballot envelopes marked with braille. 3 voters have received envelopes labeled with one party's name, but with ballot papers from another party. Third has received incomplete electoral material where ballots for several parties were missing. It's incredibly upsetting. First, there was a problem with the mailing of election material in Braille, and now we discover that there is an error in the material that clearly shows that visually impaired voters still do not have the same opportunities to participate on the same terms in Swedish democracy, says Union Chairman Niklas Mattsson. Further states that the mistake entails a great risk that the visually impaired may have unknowingly voted for a different party than they intended, and now urge those who ordered election materials in Braille and voted early to vote on election day. In an election that is so even at the national level and in many municipalities, these wrong votes can decide the election. Feels like the voting rights of the visually impaired are not taken seriously even by the Swedish Electoral Authority, and it should not be like that in Sweden in 2022.
Oh, that's not great.
That's not great. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no, it happened. There was another guy who
It was crossed out already on the
yeah,
list. Yeah.
here. Jörgen was not allowed to vote, was already checked off. Oh, this is a fucking Plus article. I'm not gonna give money to a social democratic newspaper. I don't want to do that. when will the results start to come in? Preliminary results in like 30 minutes, I think. Yeah, polls close in 30 minutes.
Yeah. And then they count. Oh, they count.
Yeah.
But yes, and everything is paper ballots, right? Like, because we don't have electronic, like voting machines or anything like that in
Yeah.
Sweden because it's not good and
Uh,
nobody should use it.
the polls, you have been able to vote early for the past 2 weeks. So, um, really, I don't know why more people don't vote early. I think it's so convenient. I love voting early. I've always voted early. Um, it's
I've
just
always voted on election day because I don't feel like it. I mean, there's not a line or anything like that for me to vote, so it's not like I have to like stand in line forever just because I vote on election day. So like I just do it when everybody else do it.
voting on the poll at the polling station. No. Like when you vote early, you don't vote by mail. You still go to the polling location. Um, you just go to the polling location any day before election day. Like
Mm.
the process is exactly the same. You have 2 weeks to cast your vote. But yeah, tons of people still go on election day. Which is like a lot. People say like, oh, it's like it's like a holiday. It's like this whole thing. Go vote, but I hate it. Like I don't want to stand in line for like an hour and a half just to put a piece of paper in a box.
You have to stand in line for that long? I went
Yeah,
in
in
and
in in
like
a couple places, yeah.
I I I didn't have to wait. I just walked straight in, put my vote, and then I was done.
Uh, long queues at the voting locations.
Oh,
Aftonbladet reporter is at the scene.
can't trust them.
They've introduced a screening where ballots are taken. Oh, right. So it's the covering up the ballots, right? So the covering the table where the ballots are put out. They've made it so that you have to everyone has to take a ballot one by one
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that people can't see what ballots you're taking. Um,
yeah,
and that apparently is causing delays. Uh,
yeah. It's stand in the door and wait for it to be freed up, and then but there was only one person ahead of me, so
yeah, some places in Uppsala queues have been 1.5 hours long, according to SVT. Yeah, I also heard that the queues were pretty long here in Gothenburg as well today. Uh, in Stockholm, in a few places, the queues were long as well. So, yeah.
you know, good stuff. But uh,
Vote early, you missed a chance to vote for someone else if they mask slip at the last minute. Yeah. I mean, that's. I guess that's a problem that some people do have if they're like on the fence about who they're gonna vote for. Um, for me, there's just no real question. Um, like I can't even imagine what like Noshi would have to like do or say for me to be like, well, that's it. I'm voting for the Social Democrats. Like I think I would
anything
rather.
she could say would be essentially anything she could say would be bad would just be agreeing with the social democrats. So it's like like she
uh,
couldn't even say like, oh yeah, we want to join NATO now. Like you wouldn't go to the social democrats, you'd just be
yeah,
like, okay, so no party is against NATO anymore, I don't
yeah.
really have any choice.
I'd just vote blank or something.
Yeah, vote for nuance. or feminist initiative.
Yeah. That's the one thing we need in Sweden, I think, is like an Islamic Democratic Party.
Yeah.
The Pirate Party, yeah. The Pirate Party is
Yeah.
like the Twitch party.
It's just libertarians,
Yeah.
like the goofy ass libertarians that are like, yeah,
Yeah. Like against, I mean, they're against like copyright, like intellectual property.
yeah. I know. Like that's what they were like. But as time went on, like if it attracted the libertarians, so it's just
Yeah.
libertarians, right? Like, yeah,
Why isn't feminist initiatives in polls or debate? Because they're, you know, polling at, like nationally, they're polling at like under 1%, I think.
yeah,
There was like one election, it was like 2012 or something, when it was like they were like included in like polls and not in the debates, I don't think, but they on you know like on the like graphics that they were showing on TV, like they would put feminist initiative rather than just like others.
yeah,
But they only got like 2%, 1 point something percent. So yeah, the
yeah.
there's just no chance of them getting any seats in parliament, so they're not included in anything.
And if you want a feminist party, the left party is better feminist than the feminist party anyway. So it's like
Yeah,
it's kind of like the Green Party, right? Like where their main issues, another party is just better at it.
yeah,
And that's why, like, I mean, for feminist initiative, like the first leader, she used to be the leader of the left party. So feminist initiative is basically wanting to like do feminism but for more liberal people. um you know, that's what that is.
yeah. Do you want to do the election compass?
Yeah, yeah.
We can do SVTs or um wait,
I did I've done Aftonbladet. That's the only one I've done.
uh parameter. Isn't there yeah, here it is. Get 35 statements to decide on. Yeah. Profit distribution for independent schools must be prohibited. I assume that's, yeah, I mean, profit making, like, should charter schools be able to make a profit? Is the question, basically.
No.
Independent schools receive tax funds in the same way as municipal schools. The allocation is based on the number of students. Money must go to the school's operations, such as teacher salaries and premises. If the independent school is run as a limited company, the owner has the right to distribute profits. Yeah, I'm gonna put an angry face on that one.
No, no, no. What? You are? Go back.
Uh, oh, it must be prohibited, right?
Yeah.
Sorry,
It's like
I was angry at the concept. So angry I didn't read the question.
yeah.
Oh wait, there's like a. Yeah, can you ban Coffee Head from chat if you have chat open? There you go.
There you go.
The politics understand has arrived. Yeah. Nuclear power must be expanded. Oh, we can actually see. Yeah, we can see what the different parties are saying about it. So profits in schools. Private actors are allowed to make a profit in welfare is not itself a problem. The central thing is that students are offered high quality by the provider. When the parliament voted on the Repalu investigation, and Democrats voted no. Any operator that delivers low quality or behaves unethically must be shut down, regardless of whether it's a public contractor, a limited company, or an idea-based contractor. Idéburen utförare. I don't even know what that is.
You know, no idea.
Moderates protect freedom of choice in care, school, and care. Vård, skola, omsorg. Yeah. Healthcare, education, and welfare. Profit-making activities must therefore also be permitted. Schools that are run as joint stock companies must live up to high-quality criteria in order to be allowed to distribute profits. Schools that seriously lack quality should have their permits revoked. Profit is important in order for the business to be able to develop and the freedom of choice to be presented.
But
principles...
it doesn't need to be a business.
Yeah, so yeah, the right-wing parties are all basically the same thing. Like, yeah, profit is cool, but bad schools are bad.
Yeah.
We want to preserve independent schools and the free choice of school. Well-run schools with high knowledge results and well-trained teachers bring great benefits to both students and society. It must be prohibited with any form of profit distribution that goes beyond the students' teaching. School must always be there for the students, not the other way around. Det ska vara förbjudet med all form av vinstutdelning som går utöver elevernas undervisning. Wait, what are they even saying here? Det ska vara förbjudet med all form av vinstutdelning som går utöver elevernas undervisning. So the distribution of profits...
it makes no sense, right? Because they like... So the free schools get paid by the government, right? So
Yeah.
what would be left over that is not intended for the education of the child, right? Like it's just a nonsensical kind of like claim to make, right? Because the money they get is to run the school, right? So what wouldn't be intended for the children's education at that point?
Yeah.
There's nothing left then.
Yeah, I don't know. Seems like just this a different way of saying the same thing as all the other parties are saying, which is just like, yeah, it's profits are fine so long as it's good for the students, which is like,
Yeah.
well, profits aren't good for the students, but the community must take back control of the school. Our tax money should go to the students' education, more teachers, and better conditions for all those who work in schools, not to the profits of venture capitalists. All students must have the opportunity to choose a school, but the pursuit of profit must go away. I mean, the free school choice is like interlinked with profit, and like, I don't even know if the Social Democrats are against charter schools.
I mean, I don't know, because no, I don't think they are, right? I
Because
know that they've spoken out about religious free schools,
Yeah.
right? Like that's it.
But like the thing is, like, if you have free school choice and you have charter schools, then you will have like profit-driven education. That's just like, that's what you get when you combine those two things.
Yeah.
So to say like, oh, capitalists shouldn't be able to make a profit, but like, well, you still want there to be capitalists in school, right?
Yeah.
Here, let's see what they say on their website. Do they even have it in English? English. Oh, it's just like a fucking pamphlet in English. Well, alright, whatever. Ban religious free schools. Ban profit withdrawal.
Yeah,
Schools
it
should
doesn't
not be a
make
market.
sense.
Yeah. reform school money, school pengen, the free school choice voucher, so it contributes to increased knowledge and equality instead of overcome standing for-profit independent school groups. Increased transparency. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to me because they're saying on the one hand, like, oh, it's bad when like private businesses make a profit off of like taxpayer money that's supposed to go to education, but then on the other hand, they're saying it is fine for like private schools to exist. Or so like, what are they even saying? The SVT broadcast has started apparently. So I don't know if they're actually going to be saying anything, but the party leaders are going to show up to give their comments.
Yeah.
But I think the results aren't gonna not gonna be in for like another 15 minutes.
It's gonna show up and tell everybody that the Muslims are gonna take Taco Friday away from them.
Yeah. Cheeseburgers have to be called ostmackor. Yeah, they're just giving their own commentary right now. I think we'll
yeah. We'll stick to these two political experts right here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Halal Friday.
Introduce an ownership test so criminals and unscrupulous actors can't get permission to run a school. So like they are still saying that charter schools should exist. Yeah. So like they still want some profit in schools.
They're so confused.
Yeah, it's like they so badly want to be on like the left side, and like have like all this like anti-capitalist
messaging.
On
everyone's side at the same time.
Yeah. But like they really want like their image this election like has been really like left wing, like their rhetoric has been left wing, and like you know they're presenting themselves as if they were like a left wing party, and like they're like pretending that they agree with the left party, but then they actually don't.
Yeah.
It's like their actual policies are just same. It's like same policies, you know.
Bunch of goddamn liars is what they are.
Yeah. All right. And yeah, the left party doesn't want profits in schools.
Yeah.
Nuclear power.
Ooh boy.
Controversial one. Two parties are against, the Green Party and the Left Party. Green Party says nuclear power is extremely expensive, takes a very long time to build, but also poses huge safety risks. Swedish households, companies, and industries need cheap electricity quickly, not expensive electricity in 20 years. The Green Party would therefore rather invest in increased production of renewable energy and energy efficiency. It's cheaper, safer, and much, much faster. The Left Party says nuclear power is not only an unsafe source of energy, it is also very expensive and takes far too long to build. There's also no safe method for final disposal of the radioactive waste. Instead, we want a massive expansion of renewable energy, therefore the state must regain control in energy policy instead of relying on the market to solve everything. Center Party, pretty bad suggestion. Nuclear power today accounts for a significant part of Sweden's energy production and will likely do so for a number of years to come. We neither want to see the government subsidies for nuclear power nor that it should be shut down prematurely by political decisions. They don't want subsidies? Statliga subventioner till kärnkraften. They don't want subsidies, but like nuclear power can't exist without state subsidies. That's impossible. There's no profit to be made off of nuclear power. Yeah, I also think that they mean new subsidies.
New subsidies, yeah.
Yeah, they don't want any more subsidies for nuclear power.
Yeah.
But yeah, like like there is no nuclear power without state subsidies. Like
yeah.
it has been like fairly open for private companies in Sweden to like request to build nuclear power plants, but like there are no companies that want to do that. Like none of them want to do it without substantial subsidies from the government.
Yeah.
So yeah, you need some kind of either subsidies or like a price guarantee that the government is going to be promising to pay a certain amount for nuclear energy, the
Hmm.
electricity generated by nuclear power plant for like many years to come. Because otherwise, like no like venture capitalist is going to want to build a nuclear power plant. It's way too big of an investment, and it's just not profitable.
Yeah. And we don't build anything by ourselves anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Social Democrats. Nuclear power is an important part of Swedish electricity production and will be so for a long time to come. That's the exact same thing that the Center Party said. We look positively on the initiatives that are now being taken to investigate the future of potential in all types of energy. Wow, that is the most politician way to say absolutely nothing at all. We look
Social Democrats, everyone.
positively on the initiatives. The initiative to investigate the future potential in all types of energy.
You see, they've been watching the Democratic Party in the United States.
It's like, oh, yeah. That's a great
we'll,
way
we'll,
to say
we'll,
nothing at all.
yeah, we'll think about thinking about it in the future,
Yeah.
okay?
I look positively on the idea of thinking about the potential of possibly introducing a committee which will investigate the possibility of nuclear power in the future. After the election, we want to see a new energy agreement for the good of Sweden and therefore want to hold energy policy talks with other parties about everything from wind to power to nuclear power. Yeah, they're not saying anything at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everyone else says, yeah, nuclear power is going to solve all of our problems. If we
Yeah.
buy a nuclear power plant now, we're never going to have to do anything about the environment ever again.
Yeah. And that's what's been so dishonest in the news right now, right? Because obviously there is an energy crisis going on, right? And all the materials been around nuclear power solving this, right? Like the situation we are in now, nuclear power is not going to solve it, right? It's one thing to like not shut down the power plants that we have running right now, and then there's another issue in building new ones, right? Finland started building a nuclear power. Like Finland has like I think 4 nuclear power reactors, right? And they're building like a really big one, right? That has taken them 15 years to build, right? It is not a solution for right now, right? And it's extremely expensive, as we covered before, right? So moderates and stuff like that pushing it, like using the current state of the energy situation we are in right now as to speak for nuclear power is incredibly dishonest.
Yeah. And something that is kind of forgotten about is that transportation releases just as much carbon dioxide as power generation, uh, possibly more. That like the carbon dioxide emissions by transportation is trending upwards, and a lot of that is because of cars, personal transportation. Um, so like a lot of emphasis is given to like airplanes and like coal power plants, but a huge part of emissions is fucking cars,
Mm.
which no one really has any like policies about or talks about except maybe like, oh yeah, electric cars will solve it.
Yeah, EVs.
Yeah,
Right.
ignoring the fact that if everyone were to switch over to electric cars, that would cause massive problems on its own. That would also need fixing. Yeah. Anyway.
Thoughts on zero parties want to legalize marijuana, and even left party would almost be and by almost improve the society heavily hit gang crime, which is one of the main talking about the election cycle. Well, marijuana has always been like a touchy subject within Sweden, mainly because there is, first of all, there is like the misinformation around marijuana has pretty much stayed the same, and there's nothing that's been challenging it. And when it comes to the gang crime rhetoric, right? Like, yes, right? But you have to realize too, right, that the gang crime isn't a rhetoric in Swedish politics because gang crime is a huge issue. It is it is a huge talking point in Swedish politics because it they want to further kind of this law and order narrative, right, that the Sweden Democrats primarily went heavy on, right? The Sweden Democrats are going in really hard on increasing the police and building more prisons and so on, right? So that like they're not looking for a practical solution to gang crime. Gang crime is convenient narrative to push forward the things that they want, right? Which is a police state, essentially. But marijuana is like, I don't know, it's kind of like a very dead issue in Swedish politics. Like it's, you know,
I looked up an opinion poll on marijuana legalization, and 65% of Swedes say that they don't want it to be legalized. 28% says that they could think about, or like they would consider legalization, and remaining say they don't know.
yeah,
So it is also like a bit of a populist thing. Like,
yeah,
if a party were to come out in favor of legalization, 65% of the country would disagree with you. So it's, I think it's a hard sell.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, the opinion among most Swedish people, like because people like when it comes to like public health and so on, right? Like people seem to think that like anything regarding like legalization only moves one way to increased use of something, right? Like that is the only thing people see, right? Like they see as if we like it's almost like when stuff is forbidden, people don't use it that much, right? But as soon as it becomes legal, everybody starts using it, right? So they think that more people are going to get addicted if we legalize it than they are now, and so on. And then plus people believe that you like there's many people that perpetuate the whole thing. If you smoke marijuana, you can lose your mind, essentially. There's so much of that misinformation in Sweden.
mm. Yeah. Tell SD that immigrants hate marijuana. Yeah. Make cars illegal. Something must be done. Think of the children. I believe that, like, unironically. You make fun, but like unironically. Hell yeah. Let's ban cars. Everyone gets their own train. Personal trains. It solves none of the problems.
Exactly. Yeah, it sure is a trained supremacist.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I definitely think that it's something that's gonna change. You know, in the future.
Yeah.
The younger generation is more positive toward the prospect of marijuana legalization, or at least decriminalization.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, still the majority of Swedes are against it, and you kind of have to consider Sweden's like love-hate relationship with prohibition, because for a very long time, like prohibition of alcohol and drugs. I mean, drugs were always illegal, but like the prohibition of all alcohol was like a serious, political consideration. So they've started to count the votes.
Yep.
Maybe exit poll.
Well, it just closed. The polls just closed right now.
Yeah. Moderates 18.8. But yeah, no. We've had like alcohol rationing and state monopoly and things. So even alcohol people are unsure about. Center Party 7.7%, according to the exit poll.
Yeah.
Left Party, let's see if they get 8%? No, 7%. So the center party will be bigger than the left party if this exit poll holds.
Mm.
Green party 5.8%.
God. Who even votes for the Green Party? I don't understand who these voters are.
My dad.
Kristdemokraterna som i vallokalsundersökningen får 5,2%.
5.2% for the Christian Democrats.
They,
That is less than that they were
that
hoping
is,
for.
yeah, it is.
I saw people saying that like the Christian Democrats were going to get like 10%.
Yeah.
4.7% for the Liberals.
Men glada reaktioner hos Liberalerna.
Det jublas rejält där.
They're like, we're still here.
Yeah.
Like, woo! We're
Yeah, I mean,
still here. It's so fucking ridiculous. I barely made it.
I den spännande statsministerkampen, hur ser det då ut? Ja, då har vi mandat här. 176 mandat, fördel Magdalena Andersson mot 173 mandat Ulf Kristersson.
yeah.
Översätter procenten till hur det ser ut i
176 on the Social Democratic side, the left bloc. 173 for the right wing bloc.
Räknar vi då in Vänsterpartiet, Miljöpartiet och Centerpartiet.
Yeah.
Ja, det där
Three votes. 3 votes in parliament deciding the prime minister.
Yeah.
That is very tight. Yeah, I mean, like some of the polls that I was looking at earlier showed like a 1 delegate lead for the left. Like like the difference between just 1 member of parliament.
Yeah.
But so I mean, technically 3 seats is
It just tripled, okay? Like,
yeah.
3 times as much democracy just happened.
Yeah. So the left party is going to get 25 seats in parliament. The center party is going to get 27. The Greens are going to get 20. Social Democrats, obviously, the biggest, 104 seats. Liberals 17, Christian Democrats 18, moderates 66, and the Sweden Democrats 72. You can't see because my thing is in the way, but 72 for the Sweden Democrats.
Yeah. If LKDMSD get a majority, would it form a coalition? No, Jimmy would probably not become prime minister because I think they need the Liberals in that case.
Yeah.
And they would not support Jimmy becoming it. I mean, it depends on how big the Sweden Democrats get, but they're not going to get big enough to where Jimmy can become prime minister, even if they're bigger than the moderates.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was expected that the Sweden Democrats would become bigger than the moderates.
Yeah.
Yeah, moderates have been kind of, I don't know, sleepy in the in the election.
Like the Sweden Democrats are like eating the moderates essentially, right?
Yeah.
Like that's, you know.
I mean, and the Christian Democrats as well. Like I was saying, the Christian Democrats over the past few years have become more and more and more like the Sweden Democrats. You know, in a like a weird way, like trying to chase voters. You know, like trying to chase like the more right wing voters. But if you're right wing and you like hate immigrants, why would you vote for the Christian Democrats when you could vote for the Sweden Democrats? So I feel like the Christian Democrats have kind of shot themselves in the foot. You know, chasing voters on the right by trying to become more like the Sweden Democrats. They've just ended up, you know, having their voters poached by the Sweden Democrats, you know?
Exactly. And especially since they're even distancing themselves from their name, right? Like being Christian Democrats. They're like, oh no, Like, like I know like Christianity, you don't need to be like, we're like don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
You don't have to be a Christian to be a Christian Democrat.
Yeah,
Like, well, what the hell is the point then? Why is
exactly.
that your
Yeah.
name? Like, oh, well, we just Christian Democrats support religious freedom? No, they don't.
No, they most definitely do not.
No. I I got a like a Christian Democrat like pamphlet in the mail, and like on the front page was like some fucking politician who was like, "I successfully stopped the building of this mosque. Vote for the Christian Democrats, and we will stop radical Islamic terrorism."
Yeah.
No,
And then there was the big thing about like Christian Democrats have been in the whole thing about banning the hijab, and
yeah,
then about banning minarets and stuff like that.
yeah,
You know, uh,
yeah,
it's
banning
like
the call to
sure,
prayer and
yeah,
yeah.
do that, but then ban church bells as well, please. Then.
Yeah, man, I have a church like right next to where I live.
Me too. Me too. Me
It's
too.
fucking constantly. It used to be
Yeah.
on only on Sundays, but now it's like I don't know, fucking the priest is I don't
Yeah.
know, jamming
We're
out.
still here. We're still
Yeah.
here.
It's like on like oh, it's like a holiday, it's like a bank holiday. It's like oh, it's All Saints
Yeah.
Eve, ring the church bells. It's like shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Ringing the church bells to Swedish House Mafia. There we go.
Yeah. But yeah, no, the Christian Democrats are not for religious freedom. Yeah, no, they're not.
No.
Shit.
Like I think they're even I mean I don't know, I mean it's something that like you can't really speak out because like, so for people who don't know, Sweden is not a secular country, right? Like the church and state are like combined, right? So because things like gay marriage and stuff like that is legal, and then it's legal in the Swedish church as well, right? And I
Yeah,
think that has a lot of resistance within the Christian Democrats. They do not like. I mean, it's one of those things that people don't talk too much about because there is such a like big consensus on gay marriage being should be legal, right? So it's like the same with marijuana, right? Like it's a non-starter,
yeah,
but they are not for it,
yeah, yeah. And the Christian Democrats have been like they've had very mixed messaging about their stance on abortion. Uh,
Mm,
they've kind of like said that they are all for a woman's right to choose, and of course we support abortion, but it is murder.
mm.
Like I've heard different things from the Christian Democratic Party when they're asked about what they think about abortion.
Yeah. Also, thank you, Bob. That's very sweet of you.
One of the points of KD and Valkenpasten was that they wouldn't ban the building of mosques. No, they wouldn't say that on like in their party platform.
Yeah.
Officially, they wouldn't say that, but in local elections, that's totally something that they run on. It's just like
Yeah.
we don't want any damn mosques.
Yeah.
But nationally, the party isn't gonna come out and say like we hate Muslim people. They're just gonna dog whistle.
Yeah,
Say
nobody,
like
not even the Sweden Democrats come out and say they hate Muslim people, right? It's
yeah,
it's like they hide the narrative, right? And it's like it's what if you look at alternative for Sweden, right? That is the Sweden Democrats, but they just don't understand how to hide their message in flowery language, right? So
yeah,
it's for people who don't get that the Sweden Democrats are just dog whistling people, right? They join the overt people because they have no aptitude for subtlety.
yeah. Yeah, both the Green Party and the Liberal Party seem to be staying in Parliament. The minimum required to get representation in Parliament is 4%. Both the Green Party and the Liberal Party were kind of hovering below that, but it seems like they're both staying in.
What the fuck are you talking about, LML? The Swedish Democrats aren't racist in any way. If you aren't Swedish, you have no clue what you're talking about. Don't spread false. I feel like our accents aren't that, like, our English accent aren't at that good, sure. För vi
No.
är svenskar. Jag är från Skåne.
Jag är från Göteborg.
Sverigedemokraterna
Wait,
är
what do you do?
nassar.
Göteborg. Är du god eller?
Är du god eller?
Är du god eller?
Är du god eller?
And you're just delusional. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, the party that was founded by a Waffen SS volunteer to be like against immigration and race mixing because N-words carry HIV. Yeah, they're totally not racist.
Totally. And then how the Sweden Democrats had race biology in their manifesto until like a couple of years ago. No, totally not racist. You know, not at all.
Yeah. They just want to keep Sweden Swedish, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
What does that mean? Who knows?
It means meatballs. Taco Friday, okay? Christmas Eve. They're coming for Christmas Eve, okay?
Yeah.
They're coming for Santa Claus. The Muslims are going to kill Santa Claus.
Yeah. I mean, what, do you want to become a Muslim majority country? Don't you want to protect Swedish values?
With those values. Oh, it's the Swedish values.
Yeah.
What are they?
Separation of church and state. No, never mind. Not that. Secret ballots. No, never mind. Not that.
It's so. Oh no, they're not. Like it's ridiculous. Can I be a part of the Swedish values too? Yeah, sure. Like Swedish values is being scared that Swedish values are going away. That is Swedish values.
Swedish values is like saying that you really care about living in a Christian society, but you have never gone to church one day in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. SD aren't racist at all if you ignore all their racism. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if you take them at their word, they're only a little bit racist.
Yeah. I like Chris's, but no, that's from like there was a local municipal election like a few years back, and the news were interviewing one of the candidates for the Sweden Democrats, and he used to be a neo-Nazi, but then he was like, "No, we're not getting anywhere in the neo-Nazi movements," and so I decided to join the Sweden Democrats, right? And then they were asking him like about his stance, and they're talking about like Swedish values, and they were like, "But what Swedish values are the Muslims taking from you?" And he was like, midsummer, Christmas, and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're gonna take away all our Christmas cookies and Easter bunny, Easter eggs.
Yeah, Easter bunny, very Christian tradition.
Yeah,
it's the bunny that revived Jesus with chocolate eggs.
TV4's election forecast says Left Party got 7.5%. SVT is saying Left Party got 7%. So guess it is still a bit unsure.
Yeah.
It is just an exit poll, so
Yeah. Easter grandma. I mean, we kind of have that too. We have the witches.
yeah, from Blåkulla.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
they're gonna
they
take all our pickled herring. They're gonna eat all our pickled herring.
yeah. All the Muslims are gonna ban meatballs and pickled herring because it's not halal.
I mean, they do sell halal meatballs, so I mean, I guess they found a workaround.
Yeah,
On
but
that issue.
that's not Swedish. It's not Swedish if it's halal. So
If only Swedish people knew the amount of halal food they consume in a day, they would lose their mind.
preliminary election result. Yeah, should be in a few minutes. 2018, it was at 9:18 p.m. So I guess the preliminary results are gonna be a bit more accurate than the exit polling,
Yeah.
but we'll see. We'll see
And
what
then
happens.
we'll just have to wait a few months for a government to form.
Yeah, or I mean, yeah, really, we won't know until like April.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be a very long stream, but we're gonna keep streaming without sleeping until there's a new prime minister.
Yeah. No rest until prime minister.
Yeah.
And yeah, and also in Sweden, we don't vote for a prime minister, right? We don't like we vote for the party, so we don't choose our prime minister essentially, right? That's the parties that we vote for. They're the ones that elect a prime minister, not us.
Visitationszoner. That's like stop and frisk, right?
Yeah.
Visitation zones.
Yeah, that's what they wanted to introduce.
Search for weapons and dangerous objects. Yeah. Stop and frisk. No, I don't. No, but I want
No.
to see what the parties are saying.
No.
Center Party, Green Party, Social Democrats, and Left Party are saying it's a very bad suggestion. Liberals are saying it's pretty bad, but not the end of the world, I guess.
Yeah.
Safety. Oh wait, I'll translate it. Safety must be increased in crime-prone areas. There are other measures that are a higher priority, such as more police on the ground, earlier interventions by social services, easier rules for installing cameras in safe spaces, and bans on convicted gang criminals from staying in areas where their gangs have a foothold. So banning people from living in certain areas based on if they're gang affiliated.
Yeah.
Wait, so if you're like associated with a gang, the government is gonna take you and force you to live in a place where the opposite gang lives, so that you will get fucking stabbed in your sleep.
Yes.
That's fucking five-head. That like the gang problem is not actually serious. It's just something that's used like for rhetoric. It's something that
it sounds scary.
Yeah,
it's
easy to scare people with it, but like there are a million things that are more dangerous.
Yeah.
Like more people are still dying of COVID. Like 250 people a month are still dying of COVID. No one fucking talks about that.
I saw there was this criminologist that did this investigation. I mean, this report on it, and was saying that like the amount of Swedish people like in any way affected by like any violent crime is like 0.5%, right? But the question around law and order and gang crime is getting an extremely unproportionate amount of attention and like money put into it and so on for what the effect of the issue essentially is, right? Like schooling, education, joining NATO and stuff like that. Those things have a much bigger effect on the lives of everyone than focus on law and order and so on ever has on anyone's like and that's not to mention the fact that as like, you know, Marxists, we understand that more police isn't a way to deal with crime in the first place, right? Like the Sweden Democrats are straight up suggesting that, like, you know, first of all, it's the higher sentences in a country that has rehabilitation as a system, so that doesn't make sense in the first place. And then to build more prison. Like the Sweden Democrats said, they want to build more prison and they want to lock more people up. And if we don't have space for them right now, we need to outsource prison places so that we can put them in prison somewhere else while we build prisons. And it's ridiculous. And also, I think if the right wing bloc loses, I think the leader of the moderates will step down.
Ulf Kristersson might not be able to remain as leader of the moderates. Apparently, some people are saying, but he said that he would stay on, even if they lost to the Sweden Democrats.
Yeah, no, they'll take him out back.
Yeah. Yeah, Social Democrats have gone up since last time. By, I mean, not that much. 4 seats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how the Greens and the Liberals are just happy to be there.
Yeah, we're just happy to be alive right now.
They're celebrating the fact that they got like over the minimum threshold.
Yeah, the liberals.
Look
look at how they look like. Like
the liberals,
it's like slicked back hair.
Yeah,
with the suits and like, oh my god.
I mean, yeah, this is your typical liberal look, like.
Yeah.
And like, you know that they dress like this in high school as well.
Oh
like,
yeah,
every day to class, this is what they dress like.
I went to school with some of these people. I
yeah.
know.
Yeah, no, I did too.
Yeah. Annoying as hell. They're the worst. The absolute worst.
I mean, the Liberal Party are like the classic, like, economics knowers, you know?
Yeah.
Like
just Econ 101 people,
yeah,
you know?
People who are like, you know, who know about supply and demand.
Yeah.
And the market is actually better for everything.
Yeah.
And the government is bad.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk is gonna save the environment with electric cars and the Hyperloop.
Yeah. Exactly. Why is he running off to Mars then if he's gonna save us?
Well, that's just because he invented a rocket. So he's very smart.
By himself. Yeah, he's very smart. Yeah. Very, very smart.
The root deduction.
Yeah. Get rid of it.
Anyone who hires a company for help with work in the home can receive RUT, a tax deduction for part of the work. RUT means that the service becomes cheaper for the buyer because the state takes part of the cost. RUT can be obtained for IG cleaning, gardening, moving, and babysitting. So this is something that you kind of have to know what the controversy is. This was originally intended to be, or at least it was like promoted as a way to help like disabled people and like people who genuinely need help. with like, you know, hiring services like this. And you know, like, oh, babysitting for like working moms and stuff like that. But what it ended up being was just like a tax loophole for rich people.
Yeah.
So
And then the companies, like, nothing really got cheaper. They just doubled their prices.
yeah.
And so the state just paid a bunch of money, right? And because the prices don't, like, it's still super expensive to hire these services, and if you hire them, it's like they won't do it if you don't have the deduction, right? Like, even like, because they get double the money, right? Like, and it is a very unfair tax break, because people who would need these things still can't access it because the services didn't get any cheaper, right? So it's like it sure says, it's just rich people getting a tax cut, right, on services like building or cleaning, house cleaners, and so on.
And yeah, it seems like the right wing party is also making it about like immigration, where they're like, yeah, no, it's good that we're getting the immigrants to clean our houses.
Yeah.
It's good to put them to work, you know. This is good for the unemployment.
It's like the daughter of Osborne that were like, I don't see why people are against, like, immigrants. Someone's got to clean my toilets.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Yeah, they're still going over the preliminary results, I think.
And now they're also building with Legos. It's the best part
Yeah,
of the election is to play with blocks. Look at
yeah.
that. So much fun.
I love playing with Legos.
Yeah.
Oh, it's trying to translate the subtitles live. That's interesting.
It's not going very well, I'll say.
Yeah, it's very glitchy. I think that's very hard to read for people. We'll just turn the subtitles off. It doesn't really matter. I just wanted to see him have fun playing with the touchscreen.
Yeah. Technology.
Live is translated to immediately.
Immediately.
Immediately. I'm watching this broadcast immediately. Google Translate is funny sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about immigration and blah blah blah. Green Party says it's a pretty bad suggestion. Spending money on services instead of compensation of goods is positive for the environment and the climate. The Green Party wants the root deduction to promote the transition with a greater focus on repairs and circular economy than today. It's important that the root deduction does not become a subsidy for the consumption of services by wealthy groups. Therefore, levels and included activity should be reviewed on an ongoing basis.
It's used for nothing but that. Like,
Yeah, pretty much
as
exclusively.
yeah, because as I said, right, they set the prices, right? Nothing has become cheaper. These service companies are just getting double the money, right? So yeah, like, because what you would need is to be able to regulate the prices they're allowed to charge, right? But because they know that these people will get it, they just increase the prices, get double the money, and boom, bam, bim, right? It's not accessible for anyone, anyways.
Yeah. High income earners use root deductions much more than low income earners. In practice, that means that low and middle income earners subsidize high income earners' cleaning help. It's unreasonable and a waste of tax dollars. Tax dollars? That's an interesting translation.
Yeah.
Skattemedel. Tax dollars.
Tax dollars.
Interesting. Money would do much more good if they, for example, went to more employees and healthcare. Yeah.
Nako, it's a liberal election, so nobody wins. That's the.
Sweden must reduce international aid. Oh, wow, that's very polarizing. Everyone says it's a very bad suggestion, except the moderates and the Sweden Democrats who say it's a very good suggestion.
Yeah.
Center Party stands for the 1% goal in aid, wants to focus the aid so it's used better where it makes the biggest difference. 1% goal. In the part of the world, the humanitarian situation is very serious and the need for aid is great. Sweden has every opportunity to contribute to reduce hunger, more children go to school, and increase democracy and equality in the world. 1%. Yeah, it seems to be a consensus around the 1% rule. Or 1% of...
Naku, it looks like the left bloc is winning.
Yeah. By 3 mandates, 3 seats in the parliament. If you combine the left party, the Social Democrats, the Greens, and the Center Party, which was the last coalition, not coalition, but like the last bloc in the 2018 election that voted for a prime minister. If they vote for the same prime minister this time around, then yeah, we're gonna have the same kind of government that we had last time. The 1% is the idea that 1% of Sweden's GDP should be going to international aid. That's the target. There seems to be a consensus around maintaining that. Let's see what the conservatives have to say. Despite the fact that control and follow-up of what the money goes to is deficient, Swedish aid to other countries continue to increase automatically every year. It's an irresponsible way to deal with taxpayers' money. The moderates want to reduce and streamline aid so that your tax money goes where it does the most good. Oh yeah, totally. They definitely care about doing the most good. That's why.
Yeah.
Sweden Democrats want to phase out aid that is ineffective and invest in such aid that provides a greater humanitarian effect where people suffer from crisis or war. As a first step, we want to lower the level of aid to 0.7% of GNI and use that money to, among other things, increase Sweden's pension and strengthen the judiciary.
Yeah, they no. They don't want to increase pensions. Like what? Look, they've never
No, they always vote for the conservative, the right-wing budget proposal.
Exactly.
So like this whole thing about like, oh, we want to spend the money on like Swedish people instead of on like people in other countries or on immigrants. It's like, you don't want to spend money on Swedish people either. Like,
yeah.
You're constantly voting for budget cuts and tax cuts for the rich.
Yeah, exactly. And tax cuts is like when like people have to come to realize when your politicians are talking about tax cuts, right? Like if you are middle class, right? Like you might get a tax cut, which is minuscule because the tax cuts they are talking about is the high income, like the very tippity top getting essentially all their tax obligations just annihilated, right? Like they don't need to do anything. That's the tax cuts they're talking about. But because you get like a little crumbs, right? You think it's about you, right? So they got and then to fund this, right? They got all the public services, right? And Sweden Democrats are on board with that. Give me like a few minutes so I run to the shop next door before it closes and I'll be back.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So yeah, you can see the really long queues as well. Oh man, can't. Subtitles.
Till Sören Holmberg, vår statsvetarprofessor som sitter bredvid mig. Då börjar vi här, då kan du titta här. Kan man publicera vallokalsundersökningen även om folk fortfarande köar? Några kanske då ändrar sig i sista minuten om det är väldigt jämnt. Det frågar Björn.
Vi har ju redan publicerat så att det beslutet är fattat och de som står i kö, de står i kö och de kan ju inte gärna enkelt titta på den här tvn och om vi pratar om några få personer så får det vara ett problem. Men annars är ju regeln att...
So they got a question about if it's right for public service to be publishing election results while people are still standing in line. And this old guy is saying that, well, if people are standing in line, how can they watch the TV? So the thing is that you can actually look at this broadcast on the internet, which people can actually do on their phones, which they tend to have with them. And actually, people tend to be using their phones when they're standing in line for an hour and a half. So, I don't know. I think that's really going to mess up this guy's theory here.
Men det får inte komma nya människor utan det dras ju ett, som i Vasaloppet, ett rep.
Precis, ja, vi har en till här. Jag har stått i kö i 40 minuter till min vallokal. Än så länge kvar tills vi är framme. Än är det länge kvar tills vi är framme. Sett flera äldre som vänt hemåt igen när de sett den långa kön. Kunde detta verkligen inte förutses? Skandal.
Yeah, someone is complaining about long queues. They've been standing in line for 40 minutes. They've seen old people arrive and then turn around and choose not to vote because of the very long lines. Scandal. They've had they have not been able to predict this. The election laws have changed. It takes a little bit longer for each person to vote now because you have to vote one by one. Everyone has to pick up their ballots from a table, which is now behind a cloth, behind a curtain, which it wasn't before. So it takes a bit longer. So you get really long queues. Yeah, alright. I don't understand why people don't vote early. We've had 2.5 weeks to vote and people decide to do it last second for some reason. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, Grom and I. Grom said that he voted today. I always vote early. Grom said that, you know, at his location, at his polling place, there's never a queue, so why not vote on election day? I am of the opposite mindset that there's never a queue if you vote early. Like most of the time, the polling place is like empty. So, why not vote early? It's, but yeah, some people feel that like voting on election day is, it's like a holiday. It's like an event to go to the polling place on election day. It's like a thing that some people apparently like to do. Voted early since my first election? Yeah, me too. I've always voted early. Never voted on election day. Yeah, I don't think this page will actually be updating tonight. I think we'll just be looking at the preliminary results. Super drama, red and green against narrow victory. Yeah, there have been 2 polling station surveys, one by TV4 and one by SVT. SVT is the public service broadcaster in Sweden. They're both although this one says that the right block is leading, but that's not true because they're showing a left block leading here. Or oh, they mean in terms of percentage of votes. Can I drop it as a link? Which one do you want as a link? Oh wait, here it is. Now it's been updating. Wow, look at that. So yes, voting has started. This is my province, Västra Götaland. Wasn't that nice? But these are, is this really? 628 votes. Oh, 1 district has been voted. Well, one district has been counted. Okay. I see. Any municipal elections? No. Regional? No. Just here. Okay. Do you think there's a world in the near future where Anna Lööf resigns to see a return to the right-wing side? I mean, the Standard Party has always been right-wing, and they continue to be right-wing. They just think that they can get more right-wing policies passed if they are in, if they're working together with the Social Democrats. But I don't see Annie Lööf stepping down anytime soon. I think she's too popular. I mean, her the Center Party voters certainly seem to love her. So
I'm back.
Hey.
Hello. Did we win?
I mean, like 600 votes have been counted in Västra Götaland. So that's nice, but it's just one district, so it doesn't really say anything.
That's your district.
Well, no, one district in Västra Götaland.
Oh.
So, I don't even know which district it is. It's just one of them. It's only 628 votes, so that's probably why this is
all you need. Let's cut it off there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, this looks good to me, honestly.
Yeah. 15% for
15% for the left party, almost 40% for the Social Democrats. The Greens, the Centers, the Liberals, they all are out of parliament. Christian Democrats get 4.7%. Moderates get like 9%. Sweden Democrats 20%. I guess that kind of sucks, but, that's fine.
No.
I'm fine with this. If this was the national election result, I'd be cool with that.
Yeah.
And then I assume all of these others are like based communist parties and stuff. And not like extremely racist parties.
Yeah. Well, they had, I saw KP had a ballot. Or is it just K now? I don't know. And then SKP as well.
Yeah. Hallsberg I Örebro. Sweden Democrats won this district.
Real place. Never heard of it.
I never heard of it either.
No.
I've heard of Kumla. And
That's
Nora.
where the prison is.
Yeah. Nora, I've heard of Nora. Karlskoga. No, I never heard of that. Arboga. I've never heard of the Hallsberg. How many votes is that? 279 votes. Wow. 279. That's a lot of people.
Yeah. Do they have anything at Communist Party? I mean, we have two main communist parties. It's the Swedish Communist Party and the Communist Party. They're not.
Wait, I love this. You can zoom in to exactly which. Skärholmen 21, Vårberg C. This is like one person's apartment. Like, what is this? How many people live there? 300. Alright, so 300 people live right here. And that has been counted now. 40% for this Social Democrats, 25% for the left. That's really great for the people who live in this very specific little square.
Yeah.
Love that.
They all work at the docks.
Yeah, totally. Dock Workers Union activists, all of them.
Yeah.
1,207 votes in total have been counted out of 7 million ish. Wow, it just jumped up to 2,689 votes. We're gonna be at 7 million real soon.
Yeah.
I wonder how the North is gonna vote. My homeland.
So Social Democrats and Left Party mostly, I think.
There's no way.
Left Party is usually pretty big up north.
You think the North is gonna vote in exactly the same way it has for the past 100 years?
No, I think so.
That's a bold statement.
Not much happens up there, you know?
That's true. But I mean, who knows? Maybe
they all turn fascist like the rest of us.
No, like the Social Democrats in the North are really like socially conservative.
Oh yeah.
So Like the only reason people don't vote for the Sweden Democrats in the north is just because like the Social Democrats fulfill that role adequately. You know.
Yeah.
It's you know, they're not that bad, but like they're not super progressive either.
No. What color do you think Skåne is gonna be?
Oh, deep red, definitely. I think Communist Party of Sweden all the way. Landslide.
Yeah.
I think landslide for the Communist Party of Sweden and Feminist Initiative.
Oh,
And Nyans.
Nyans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, what's up, Marcus?
Hi, Marcus. I just
Nobody
got
votes for the communists.
a DM from someone with a green profile picture, and their username is Libya2011.
Yeah, I got the same.
Great.
Libya. Just settling in some 9/11 coverage. Yeah, this is a place to be for it.
Yeah. I mean, what else is going on today?
Yeah.
Here are the year's hottest voter groups. Hell yeah. In terms of physical attraction, I assume.
Yeah.
The middle class. Second generation immigrants. A very motley group that makes up approximately 20% of the population, but the ones you usually think of are second generation non European immigrants. They are the children of parents who came here during a time the Social Democrats were very strong. I mean, like, half of those are like Finnish people.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs. What?
Företagare.
7 to 8% of the gainfully employed are business owners. Damn, there are as many business owners as there are students? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Rural dweller.
That's you.
Yeah. Well, not anymore.
And that's it. The only voting groups.
Yeah. Well, they're the ones that might decide the election, according to political scientists.
I love political scientists. They're so smart.
I mean, it's a science.
Yeah.
At 40,000 votes, apparently.
Yeah.
It's the difference between the left and the right bloc.
Yeah. One of those votes are mine.
Yeah. And 5 of those votes are mine.
5.
I mean, 1. Me too.
2.
Yeah, I mean, when it's this even, like, you really can see a significant difference between the preliminary exit polls and preliminary results and the official results. You know, with all the late votes, the late ballots, and the big voting districts, and the Swedes abroad.
Yeah.
You know.
Did they get all the Sweden Democrat votes from Thailand yet?
Yeah. I wonder hur röstar svenskar utomlands? How do... When is this from? 2014. They vote for the moderates, it seems.
Yeah.
Which one is what year?
It's true, Marcus. It's very true.
I don't. Okay. Interesting.
Never forget. Yeah. Funnily enough, it feels like I have forgotten something today. I don't know quite what, but there was something else we were supposed to remember that I don't remember.
Did you forget to vote?
No, I did that. I did that. An IN day. And there was something else. Yeah, it'll come to me eventually. Yeah, that was a while ago though, Marcus. Couldn't be that. Yeah, I did. It's hard to avoid.
It's usually about one mandate that changes hands between the parties from election night on to Sunday, to Wednesday, when the final result is in. 175,000 Swedes who live in other countries are allowed to vote in the parliamentary election. Less than half of them actually vote. But yeah, it does seem like the moderates are the biggest party among Swedish people who live abroad, which makes sense because if you don't live in Sweden, then why would you vote for a party that, you know, is going to raise your taxes?
True.
For like schools and hospitals and stuff, because like it's not like you or your children are going to have use of those schools or hospitals.
Yeah.
So the only thing that you can really get out of an election is just to vote for whoever's going to lower the taxes the most.
Yeah.
You know, who cares?
Who cares? Funnily enough, it is a lot of Sweden Democrats the people that I saw. There was like, it was a few years ago, they were doing this thing where people sat in like Thailand and watched like the election result, and were all Sweden Democrats. Yeah, I did check the mail, so it's not that, Marcus. It's something else. I'll remember it eventually. What was that?
Resor.
I was like, travel?
Yeah. Yeah. It's very like it's very misleading when it shows that like, oh, the Sweden Democrats are the biggest party in Västernorrland, but then you look at it, it's like, no, it's only in Sollefteå. Oh no, it's only in Resor.
Yeah.
Where how many people live? 381. So it's like, okay, it's only like the really rural places.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow, look at that. Skåne is red.
Oh, look at that.
It's Malmö. No, it's
Everything gold. No,
Hyllevång Dagvattenparken. What? It's a water park?
Yeah, I guess so.
382. There's 382 people live in a water park?
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's all the employees at the water park
Yeah.
voting for the Social Democrats. I love how 300 people voting for the Social Democrats in a fucking water park. And then you zoom out on the map and it's like, oh, all of Skåne is red.
Yeah. It won't stay that way, folks.
I don't know. Maybe it will shift. The north will go yellow, the south will go red.
Yeah. No.
For no reason. Borås! No, it's not all of Borås. It's only Kristineberg. Which is, I don't even know. It looks like a road. I assume there are houses there.
I wish it would show what the individual houses voted for.
Yeah, every house is its own voting district.
I want to know what my neighbors voted for in my building.
Every apartment Every
Yeah.
person, every person gets their own voting district.
Yeah, exactly.
So like when you move around, like your voting district also changes.
Yeah.
What other parties in Sweden? Here. Or a rundown of it again. We went through this earlier, but you got the Left Party, they're socialists. You got the Green Party, they're environmentalists. Social Democrats are Big Tent, sort of shifting between central right and central left. They can kind of go either way. On the one hand, they're positioning themselves as like, oh, we love socialism, we hate capitalism. But then on the other hand, they are like the main reason why there still is capitalism, with like the introduction of neoliberal economic reforms and privatizations and decentralizations and blah, blah, blah. You got the Center Party and the Liberal Party, two sides of the same coin, really. Though they're different when it comes to like bloc politics, because the Center Party is more willing to vote with the left, with the Social Democrats, whereas the liberal parties are more willing to work with the moderates, who are conservatives, slightly less conservatives than the Christian Democrats, who are conservative, and the Sweden Democrats are the Sweden Democrats. They're
Nazis.
Yeah. They just they're both nationalists and socialists, so
Yeah. Nazis.
0% of the votes have been counted. That's great. I'm excited.
We're gonna be here a while.
Oh yeah. No, I think probably gonna have to end the stream. Yeah, this one is just showing the currently counted votes.
Why?
Well, first they cheered for the left party's loss, and then total silence when the Christian Democrats' result was reported. Christian Democrats' election vigil started with cheers when TV4's polling station survey was shown on KD's election watch. The left party was the first party to be reported on, had retreated 0.5 percentage points from the last election to the jubilant joy of the Christian Democrats' election watch. The Social Democrats then turned out to have won. The joy was dampened somewhat, and even more so when the Green Party's big boost. It's a sixth party. It was the Christian Democrats' turn to get the numbers reported, and back 0.5 percentage point was an audible disappointment, even if someone tried to cheer the guests on. Then came the shock of the evening. The moderates' huge loss caused some despair and frustration. When the Sweden Democrats' big left was reported, it was dead quiet. The fact that the bloc friends made a strong progress obviously did not please them at all. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying. Like, the Christian Democrats try to be as much like the Sweden Democrats as possible. They try to go out to the right. They try to be like, oh, we also hate immigration. We also hate brown people. We also want like more police and everything. And so then it's like, okay, well, what's the difference between the Christian Democrats and Sweden Democrats? Not really any. And so then people go to the Sweden Democrats because they're the bigger party. And then the Christian Democrats are like surprised that they're losing voters. And it's the same thing that the Social Democrats did and have been doing since 1991, or really since like the 80s. It's just like they try to appeal to like more moderate voters and like conservatives and liberals, but then they alienate their actual voting base. And so then they end up losing votes, and they're like surprised that like, well, why are we losing votes when we're trying to appeal to people outside our voting base? Well, it's because you're alienating the people who are already voting for you.
Yeah, exactly. Which capital do you want us to attack? You want us to attack your capital over our election, Marcus? Or do you mean our capital?
What's the result? Well, it seems like the center left has it, but it's a close one. But projections are showing that the center left is leading with a 3 mandate lead, 3 seats in parliament,
That could
according
be
to
my
the
mandate
exit
right
polls. Yeah. Yeah, the preliminary election results are coming in, but they're just voting the like small and rural counties right now.
Mm.
So I mean, it's gonna take several hours until we can actually see something that's more representative.
Yeah.
What is this one? September 9th. I don't know where the latest opinion polls are. I've lost them. I think we have.
So basically, it looks like it'll be more of the same for the next 4 years.
Yeah. Does seem like it. That's the election. When Democrats are taking votes from the moderates and the Social Democrats. I had the. Oh, this is exit poll. I guess. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, this is the exit poll that we saw earlier. Yeah, that's the one that showed a lead with 3 mandates. Yeah, so the Greens have actually gone up by a percentage and a half. Social Democrats are up 1%.
It baffles me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that both the Greens and the Liberals got like a bit of a boost just because people were afraid that they were gonna not be represented in Parliament.
It's like we want the status quo to exist so badly. No, nothing can change in this setup that we have. It's tradition, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I can understand, you know, giving a strategic tactical vote for the Green Party just to make sure that they
tactical ballot.
Yeah. But yeah. Because I mean, if they had gotten like 3.9%, then then the right wing would have won. Like if the Green Party hadn't gotten into Parliament, then the right bloc would have won. Because like there's a lot of people whose votes would just be thrown away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even if the Liberals also like had lost, because the Liberals are smaller than the Greens, like the Greens have more places, more seats in the Parliament.
Mm.
Yeah.
I do like that Christian Democrats got really bummed out when they lost seats.
Fyllgren, hur känns det? Jag vet att det är en valundersökning, men det är en fingervisning. Hur känns det?
Ja, du har bättre hörsel än vad jag har. Jag hörde ingen suck. Det är 0,6% som skiljer om vi ska få en ny regering i det här landet. Det är oerhört jämnt och varje röst behöver räknas innan vi vet hur det här går. Detsamma gäller för vårt resultat. Det rör sig alltid ifrån valu. Jag har haft både det vi har gått upp och det vi har gått ner, så det är alldeles för tidigt att säga. Men suckar, det gör inte kristdemokrater i första taget.
Men lite besviken är du på ert eget resultat? Eller?
Nej, jag är inte besviken
I can't hear
än.
it,
Det
so I
är
don't
klart
know.
att skulle det stått 15% där, då kanske det hade varit mer drag. Men det viktigaste för kristdemokrater ifrån norr till söder i det här landet, det är att vi får en ny regering. Och det hoppet...
Yeah, it's some guy at the Christian Democrats the election vigil saying that oh no, we're totally not super disappointed and bummed out because all the votes haven't been counted yet, so it's totally possible that we're actually gonna get more than the projections are saying. Yeah, apparently like the Swedish television was reporting that like people were sighing or like disappointed, and he was like, no, totally not, we're not. Christian Democrats don't do that.
Yeah.
I want to see the liberals again.
Spärren. Klockan stannar på 4,7%. Det är tillbakagång 0,8 procentenheter. Men glada reaktioner hos Liberalerna.
They're so happy to be the smallest party in parliament.
It's just, we're alive.
4,7. Kan ni andas ut nu? Det är en väldig comeback vi har gjort. Vi var helt uträknade.
Comeback?
2% i mätningarna, men vi har gjort en historisk comeback. Och Johan Persson är väldigt populär som partiledare. Vi har varit väldigt tydliga med att vi vill ha en borgerlig regering och folk uppskattar vår skolpolitik. Så att vi har känt en väldigt medvind i kampanjen.
The liberals have lost. Like, he says it's a comeback, but they lost 3 seats.
Yeah.
They've lost almost a percentage.
I know, because they were estimated to be like kicked out, right?
Yeah. So he's saying it's
like they're literally the happiest ones there. It's just because like they are just still alive like they're not dead in the water right now.
Yeah. It's funny though. It's like they made a comeback from the opinion polls, but compared to last election, they lost. So
Stoppa stölden.
Stoppa stölden. Stoppa räkningen.
But I just the best part is like how they look, right? Like it's just
they look like the stereotypes of their parties.
Exactly.
Apparently this is the moderates' reaction to the
Anders Borg, vad säger du om valen?
Valundersökningar är ju inte alltid helt...
the moderates are saying the same thing. It's like, oh, well, that's just a projection and all the votes haven't been counted yet, so...
Korrekta. Det är så nära mellan partierna nu och de två
still have his
blocken att det
ponytail?
ligger helt inom
I don't know.
felmarginalen. Jag hoppas ju
His
verkligen
ear
att
is still
Ulf Kristersson
pierced.
kan bilda en regering, att han får ett starkt...
It's just the Sweden Democrats.
You see Hiles?
Det är en rysare. Det kommer bli jämnt
Probably a
här
few
in i det sista.
discreet.
Men även i förra valet
just like in their
efter valen
pocket.
så var ni andra största parti. Vågar ni ta ut segern?
Nej, man ska inte ta ut någonting i förskott. Det här är ju bara undersökningar och det riktiga resultatet det får vi ju förhoppningsvis senare ikväll, men kanske till och med senare i veckan.
The Nazis. Like Nancy say the Dems won when they lost seats in the House but still kept majority. Yeah. I mean, they were like, you have to go over the 4% threshold, and they were estimated to not make the 4% threshold, which would mean they were gone. So the liberals, they're just like we're still alive.
Yeah.
Even if they were at 4.1%, they would have been crying of joy, you know?
90,000 votes. Have been counted now.
Damn.
Yeah, it's like a couple districts in every province. But it seems to be like the most least populated places first.
What will be the largest
600 votes.
non-parliamentary parties by vote? Like, what do you mean? The ones outside
Yeah.
that don't make 4%? Tom Ricks?
Yeah. Probably like
Feminist Initiative.
AFS, Feminist Initiative, Medborgerlig Samling. But they only make up like...
They only make up like 1%.
Yeah. Like combined.
Yeah.
So how's Scotland doing?
Scotland.
Prisoners. I like how it tries to translate.
Wait, like what do you think that...
Vänge.
Va?
Yeah, I don't know. Prisoners.
Prisoners.
Fårö. Does it translate that to Sheep Island?
Oh, we hope so, hopefully.
No, it doesn't translate that at all.
It's like that's a closer leap than the
Crake
other
Nest. Prisoners. Doesn't translate Fårö. So Learning Bridge. Lärbro. Learning Bridge. District Court. What? District Court? What is that?
I don't know.
Tingstad. District Court. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Got a whole region for prisoners? Yeah, that's where we send all the prisoners. Send them to right there.
Gotland. That's prison island.
Yeah, what? Your country doesn't have a prison island?
It's the island that we push towards Russia if they attack. It's like, here, take this. Like, you know how a lizard cuts off its tail and runs? That's Gotland.
Mellerud. Bålglass. Åsensbruk. Bålglass.
Yeah. We actually have multiple prison islands, thank you.
Trollhättan. The Troll Hat. That's not quite.
Okay, wait. Go to Skåne.
Yeah.
And then go to the middle of Skåne.
Yeah.
And then Hör. Or Hörby.
Here. Hörby isn't translated.
Oh.
Sjöbo is Swede dweller. Eslöv, acorn leaves.
Oh, my region is yellow. Look at that.
Which one?
Eslöv.
It's,
I'm in danger.
Salletorp. Herbal tea. Do you live in herbal tea?
No.
Örtofta.
Yeah. No, I don't live there.
It's 477 people live there, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be like all the big, like, rural districts. Left Party is currently second biggest in Stockholm and Gothenburg. I don't think it's gonna end up being second biggest in Gothenburg. I was seeing projections by the Gothenburg Times or Göteborgs-Posten, and they were polling at like their national average, so like 8-9%. I think.
Helsingborg.
Helsingborg.
Oh my, how good.
Vart är Helsingborg?
It's northwest Skåne.
Vart då?
Northwestern Skåne. Not all the way up there. Down, yeah.
Yeah, it's just 2 districts that have been voted counted so far.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like not really useful at all to look at this because it's just like one electoral district in every province. It's like it's not really representative.
Yeah. How many percent of Sweden has been counted now?
Like less than 1%, I think.
No, it should be more now. It's 157,000. That's more than
Oh no,
1%.
2%. 2%.
There we go. Skåne. What do you mean? That we go? I mean, Skåne is the seat of the fascists.
Yeah. I don't think this one has been updated though.
Yeah. Build your own government.
No. Remember. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna be seeing any more accurate.
No.
Gonna take a while, probably. So we're gonna be doing a stream tomorrow on Left Flank Vets, where we're gonna talk about the Swedish election and some of the campaigns and stuff for an American audience, which we've kind of been doing here as well, but more so tomorrow, I think. So
we invited ourselves on.
What?
We invited ourselves on.
Yeah.
We're inviting ourselves on right now.
So yeah, we're gonna be going over the election results tomorrow. Tomorrow evening is probably going to be a lot more representative of the final election result. But because this is such a close election, until the actual like final official vote tally has come in, you really can't say for sure what type of government we're going to have. It can still go either way. But really, I would still say that the Liberals entering a government with the Sweden Democrats is unlikely. I might be a bit naive, I might be idealistic, but I really don't think that the Liberals would agree to that. And I think it's almost like not misleading, but I think it's wrong to presume that they would be part of the same bloc, even if they are they're not part of the Social Democratic government right now together with the Center Party, but I think if it really came down to it and they really had to choose, I don't think that they would want to side with the Sweden Democrats. At least not with the Sweden Democrats, like as part of the government or, having too much influence.
I don't know. Yeah. I kind of see them doing that more. I mean, that is why the Left Party will not be included in the government, I think.
Yeah.
To make sure that the Liberals will pick the left bloc instead of the right bloc.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. So even though the Liberals are the smaller party, the Social Democrats, or wait, actually, it should be the other way around. Social Democrats, Greens, Center Party, Liberals. The Social Democrats would rather have the Liberals in a governing coalition than the Left Party, because the Left Party is too controversial for the Liberals and the Center Party both refuse to work with the Left Party. But the Left Party is in such a position that their vote is the deciding factor in if the Social Democrats even get to have a government at all. And since the last election, the left party has grown a bit of a backbone, and they are less. The party isn't as much of a pushover that they used to be. Because before, the Social Democrats could essentially just demand that, hey, left party, vote for us. Maybe we'll give you some crumbs. Maybe we'll give you something that you want, and then they end up not delivering on it and betraying everything they promised, and doing right-wing neoliberal reforms. And the left party would just say, well, it's better than the Sweden Democrats.
Yeah. And that's what center was blaming. Like, the center was doing this ridiculous thing of like going, because the center did not want to vote or according to the left party, which then they blamed the left party for enabling the the Sweden Democrats, because they are forcing them to work with the Sweden Democrats because they can't work with the left party. It's like, it's your fault we have to work with the Nazis.
Yeah. Though, like, what it really comes down to is, is the center party and the liberals going to side with the Sweden Democrats, the moderates, and the Christian Democrats, the conservative side, or are they gonna swallow their pride and work with the Social Democrats? The center party swallowed their pride last election, and they worked with the Social Democrats. With the compromise being that neither the left party nor the center party were part of the official government. Like, they were support parties, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not part of the opposition, not part of the government, but part of a supporting parties role, right? Where they voted for or abstained in the vote for the Social Democratic Prime Minister, so the Social Democrats could form a government, and in return, the Social Democrats promised them each certain reforms.
But how do you think it will look when it comes to like voting on the budget? Because that's a whole entire different things, right? Like,
I think we are gonna get a right-wing budget, I think.
Yeah.
I think with the result that we got now, I think it would be tough to pass a left-wing budget through. I think we're gonna get either a right-wing or like a center-right budget. Because the liberals are gonna be voting for, most likely would be voting for a right-wing budget. But I mean, what happened last time was, I can't remember what the center party voted for, if they abstained or what happened, but the liberals decided to come up with their own budget proposal and vote for that. So they essentially threw their votes away and didn't vote for either side. So in that situation, the left wing budget would go through. But if that's still possible with the new constellation, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really does.
Exactly, because like V would, like, C and L would never vote on a budget that V would vote on. So
probably not.
There's no. There's like, because they would never agree on a budget together.
Yeah, no. I can see the left party voting on a social democratic budget, together with the Greens, and maybe the Senate party also doing so, but the Liberals, I find it hard to believe that they ever would. So, we'll see. There'll probably be a lot of compromises and cross-block, work. Could end up seeing like a moderate social democratic budget, even, where maybe they cut a few taxes and they don't spend too much, but they don't like completely ruin everything.
Yeah.
It's like a same old. Yeah.
Yeah, more of the same. We do love the status quo so much. Mm,
Swedes big fans of the World Economic Forum? I mean, probably. We're like a Western liberal democracy. I don't see why we wouldn't
yeah.
be. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna end the stream there, and we're gonna 200,000 votes counted. Damn, it's actually going pretty fast now. 7%.
Counting. They're counting their little hearts out.
Yeah. Oh damn, the liberals, 3.7%. They've ended up underneath the 4% threshold. But they're gonna bounce up again. This is just 7% of the votes being counted, and it's mostly rural areas so far. And the liberals are big in the cities, so
yeah.
Center parties, yeah.
Hard to wear a suit in the rural areas.
Yeah.
You know.
The next stream will be tomorrow on Left Flank Vets channel, probably same time as this stream started. But I don't know.
No, later.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's when Left Flank usually goes on, I think. So our time, that's usually around like 8. It's around this time.
Okay. Like an hour and 30 minutes ago was 8 p.m.
Yeah. 8, 9 is usually when Marcus goes live. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, so that is the next stream that we will be doing, and we will be talking about the Swedish election again, and we will be looking at the updated election results and talk about what they're going to mean for Sweden going forward. And we're going to be, I suppose, talking a bit about the Swedish system, the Nordic model, and that kind of thing. Because I think on the Left Flank Vets channel, we'll be speaking to mostly an American audience.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, yeah, it won't be like too long because it's like probably like, I don't know how long we have allotted. So we'll see what we have time for.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
All right. Let's see. Who's do we rate someone?
We probably should, yeah. That is the thing to do, isn't it?
Difficult Truth is live.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Be sure to follow Left Flank Vets if you want to check out the stream tomorrow. I'll be tweeting it out as well. Yeah, stay tuned. I'll probably be tweeting about the election as well. It's exciting stuff.
Super.
It's only the future of our lives.
Yeah.
All right. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Yeah. Peace. Hej, bra.
Ja. Nu måste jag gå och äta.
Ja, jag med.
Vi hörs.
Vi hörs. Ja.
We do not believe that people should be born to rule.